of Monaco on the right-hand side. Ismaila Sarr, we know him well from Watford. He earns his 50th cap today as we get underway. Femara Deju in the 10 role behind the striker Boulaye Dia, who plays in Italy with Salernitana on loan from Villarreal. The ball is lumped forward by Qatar. Koulibaly clears it away. It doesn't go very far. It goes out for a throw-in to Qatar on the left-hand side. Ahmed Ahmed takes it. The ball is played in midfield by Abdul Karim Hassan, and Qatar briefly give it away, but then they win it back again. And Pedro Miguel looks to be starting in an advanced role up on the right-hand side, very much as an attacking wing-back. How brave are Qatar going to be in this game? It's the first ever meeting of these two nations. They've never even taken each other on in a friendly in the past. It's also the first time that Senegal have ever taken on the host nation at any World Cup. Boulem Khouki looks to come out of defence. High press from Senegal, though, sends him back to the goalkeeper, Michel Barcham. Qatar, Senegal, 0-0 in the opening minute.
Yeah, early on you can just see that Qatar trying to be more composed than they were against Ecuador. I think they came flying out the traps. They were probably a little bit over-enthusiastic. Now there's a real calmness about them and try and grow themselves into the game, and that's hugely important.
Here is Youssouf Sabaly. Plays in Spain, came through the Paris Saint-Germain Youth Academy. He's the right back for Senegal. Tries to come down that side, is challenged by Ahmed Ahmed, and the ball goes out of play for a Senegal throw. The African Cup of Nations champions are wearing all white. They're playing from left to right as we look down. Qatar in their regular maroon. Koulibaly, 66th cap for the man who was the captain of that African Cup of Nations win in the past 12 months. Sabaly again. Happy to play the safe ball back to Koulibaly. To his left-hand side, Abdou Diallo. Played at left-back in the opening match, back in his more natural habitat of central defence for this second game in the group for Senegal, who are hoping they might get a corner here, but it's gone out for a goal kick. Goal kick to Qatar, and still Qatar 0, Senegal 0.
One thing Qatar have to improve on is the physicality. The game against Ecuador, they were too easily brushed off the ball. They weren't getting tight enough to players, showing them too much respect. If they're going to do anything to improve, that side of the game has to improve today.
A lot of the home support had left the stadium long before the end of Qatar's opening game. Big question today, can the hosts give a better showing of themselves? Can they keep that interest of the crowd to the very end? And frankly, Stephen, if the crowd do get disinterested, I just wonder, will there be a pressure on them to stay inside the stadium from the security personnel? Because there was a lot of sort of negative publicity about how the fans had deserted. I'm sure there's been a lot made about how, no matter how bad things are going on the scoreboard, there'll be an encouragement, shall we say, for the Qataris to stay to the bitter end.
Yeah, and I think you should anyway. I mean, first World Cup, and you're the host nation as well. Back your team. I know it was very difficult for them to watch the team and the performance, but the players need them. They need that support from them, and they're very vocal behind the goal in which the Qatari team is shooting against.
Senegal attacking down the left-hand side. Qatar with 11 men back behind the ball. Official capacity of the stadium is 44,000. There's much been made of some of the empty seats in other games in the group stages. I mean, having been to so many World Cups over the years, that is normal. I mean, group stages of the tournament, you very often will have empty seats. However, not when the hosts are playing, and it's really strange to see that there are plenty of empty seats in this stadium as Senegal break into the penalty area. Ismaila Sarr tries to squeeze it into the front post, and the Watford man is screaming that it should be a corner. It's going to be a goal kick. That's the best chance of the game so far. He just couldn't smuggle it in at the near post.
Now, lovely dancing feet from Ismaila Sarr, and it should be a corner. It's really good defending from Qatar. They managed to get across. They managed to squeeze out the danger. Modibo comes across, and he just gets a toe onto the ball to push it round the post, but lovely feet from Ismaila Sarr.
Spanish officials, Antonio Matelajo is the man in charge. He's widely considered to be one of the best referees in UEFA. He's taken charge of many important matches, including the Champions League final last year when Manchester City and Chelsea met. Antonio Mateo was the referee for that one. The also officials from Peru and Argentina as part of the team, and then the multiples of offside VARs and assistant VARs and whatnot. Qatar fans are making a big song and dance away to the left-hand side, jumping up and down in unison. Pedro Miguel, born in Portugal, stands his ground at right back, wins the challenge and helps it back to the goalkeeper. And Michel Bacham is able to clear it up towards the halfway line, but he can't get it to Akram Afif. And the Starman is still waiting for possession to come his way in the game as Idrissa Gueye comes forward for Senegal. To the right-hand side to Youssouf Sabaly, held up 10 yards short of the penalty area. It's one back for the hosts, and Almoez Ali plays it to the right-hand side, where Karim Boudiaf breaks his way into Senegal territory, and then helped out by Pedro Miguel. They play it back again inside their own half, and Qatar a little bit more patient as they hold on to possession here, 0-0.
Yeah, you're right, Connor, patient completely, because they had to be. The break wasn't on. They forced so many issues against Ecuador on the opening game, the opening night of the World Cup. Today, you can just see that calmness to be able to realise that it's sensible to keep hold of the ball, sensible to draw out the Senegalese players and then look for gaps in behind.
0-0. Koulibaly takes a free kick on the halfway line to his left-hand side, Abou Diallo. The group comes to its conclusion on Tuesday when Qatar will face the Netherlands in their final group game, and Senegal will be up against Ecuador. Those two countries play each other this afternoon. It's a 4 o'clock kickoff UK time in this group, Netherlands against Ecuador. You can listen to that game with Alistair Bruce-Ball and Matt Upson here on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. We're also live across Africa on BBC World Service following the progress of the African Cup of Nations champions, as possession is won well by Nampalys Mendy of Leicester in the midfield, but then it breaks down for Senegal, and Afif shows the turn of pace as he accelerates away down the left-hand side. That's very good from Afif. That's brought the loudest roar from the Qatari fans, but as he plays it infield towards Almoez Ali, it breaks down for Qatar again. But Afif has got a lot of hype about him. We saw kind of why there.
Yeah, great acceleration, low centre of gravity, just shifts one way then the other, sends the defender, and then he's away down the left-hand side. And then he tries to play the ball into Hassan. He loses his footing and the move breaks down, but the noise of anticipation when Afif picked the ball up.
That looked like a handball by Hassan El Haydous, who hasn't been spotted by the referee. Several Senegal players with their arms raised, but the African nation regained possession again anyway. Ismaila Sarr will break down the left-hand side. He's got support from Krépin Diatta out on the left-hand side, and it will be a throw into Senegal, almost level with the edge of the penalty area that they attack down the left-hand side. Aliou Cissé, the Senegal coach, a familiar name in English football, of course, played for Birmingham City back in the day, played for Portsmouth as well. He was on the books at Paris Saint-Germain, and he's been very successful in this Senegal job. He's in an upward curve of improvement, a constant improvement really, from quarterfinals at AFCON in 2017, semi-finals in 2019, they won it in 2021, and now he wants to see a good showing here at the World Cup, as Ismaila Sarr gets to the byline on the right-hand side, did really well to keep it alive, ball back for Diédhiou, who was unselfish in laying it off, and the follow-up shot came from Nampalys Mendy. It was off target, but that was a very promising attack for Senegal. I wonder, having seen the replay, Stephen, had the ball been out of play, if that had ended up in the back of the net, would it have come back for a goal kick from Ismaila Sarr's cross?
Yeah, he looked like he just ran it out of play, but good play from Diédhiou, who's come into the team today. He's playing high up the park to support Dia, and then he gets into an advanced position. Very unselfish, I have to say. I think he would have probably just swiveled on it and took the shot yourself, but he was unselfish.
Senegal are playing with Ismaila Sarr on the right, Krépin Diatta on the left. They've got Famara Diédhiou in the number 10 role, and then the striker wearing number 9 is Boulaye Dia, his 21st cap. Playing in that same role that he operated against the Netherlands on Monday, the role which Sadio Mane would have been occupying had he been fit and not missed out on this World Cup. They're also without Keita Balde, who's serving a long suspension for a banned substance. Bouna Sarr, who's a Bayern Munich player, he's had knee surgery. So it's not been an ideal preparation for the tournament for Senegal. And having been beaten by the Netherlands, which they would have always expected to be the most difficult group game, today now is when they have to show up.
Yeah, it is, and you can't look at who we might have had. Senegal on the attack.
Maybe a chance for Qatar here. Ahmed gets his head up on the left-hand side, but it's a disappointing cross. Sabaly made the block, but it hadn't been hit well anyway. And Hammam Ahmed will be disappointed with that. He's one of the youngsters who at a young age was brought into the Aspire Academy, which I'm sure many of our listeners will have heard of. This is the elite academy where they went around the world. They got top coaches. They got Felix Sanchez from Barcelona's youth team. They then went and scouted. I mean, you're talking into the hundreds of thousands of kids, predominantly around Asia, around Africa. They tried to find youngsters, maybe with the link to Qatar and their grandparents or something like that. But even if not, bring them, get them assimilated into the country, get them to qualify by residency. A huge operation in this Aspire Academy. When Felix Sanchez arrived, 2006, 2007, there was only 200 registered footballers in Qatar, in the entire country. So they really were starting from scratch. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's phenomenal. I mean, the population of Qatar it's only made up with 10% of Qataris, so you know that there is an influx of foreign nationals coming into the country. So they've been very clever in what they've tried to do, and you're seeing the results of it now, where they obviously hosting the World Cup, but also I think there's only 3 overseas players though within the squad.
By Ismail Assar, gets the ball into the penalty area. Great tackle by Pedro Miguel. There was no margin for error there. He was inside the box, but he lunged ever so well. I think it was on Boulaye Dia, and he cleanly won possession and cleared it away. Pedro Miguel, who's actually playing as one of the 3 centre halves. He was right wing back in the opening game. He's operating on the right hand side of the 3 today, with Ismail Mohammed, who's come into the team. He's the player operating as the right wing back at the moment. Chance to cross the ball in by Ismail Jacobs from the left for Senegal, but it's immediately repelled away, and the African nation will regain possession of the halfway line. And Nampalys Mendy, very strong in the challenge there, brings it to within 15 yards of the Qatari penalty area. He's crossed, though, is overstruck, and Diatta's done very well with the back heel right against the sideline to keep the ball in play. Jacobs with the cross into the centre again. Boulam Khouki is there, and his diving header has got good distance on it, and he's able to clear away all the way down to the other end. As it remains 0-0, Qatar against Senegal. And attacking down the left-hand side for Senegal is Diatta. He's shown some very fancy touches so far. Senegal are trying to impose a bit of pace on the game, but Qatar keeping it very tight in these early stages. Boudiaf stretches and doesn't get there inside his final third. Dia tries to control in his stomach. It's very competitive at the moment as Nampalys Mendy finds the ball whipped off his toe. The loose ball rolls to Sabali, and he will try to take on Ahmed, trying to get to the byline. Across comes Abdul Karim Hassan, and that goes out for a throw into Senegal on the right hand side. Still 0-0. Stephen Warner.
Yeah, it's been a good start to the game from Senegal. They've grown into it. They've started to put pressure on. And one of the points one of the places where they're getting good quality is long balls into the box, which is causing Qatar many problems, and it's the second balls that they're really struggling with, Qatar, to win them.
You mentioned we're live on BBC Radio 5 Live, on BBC Sounds, and across Africa on the BBC World Service, where I know we've got so many listeners who'll be absolutely glued to the progress of Senegal here. And it's the thing I remember being in South Africa in 2010, Steve, at the World Cup. If you take a European example, you know, if Germany were the last European team left in it, I'm not necessarily saying that Irish people or English people or Scottish people would want Germany to do well, but there does seem to be a great camaraderie between the African nations, that they all want to see each other do well on the big stage.
Yeah, it seems that way. It seems that everyone's desperate for an African nation to win the World Cup, or at least to progress to the semi-finals. Ghana were the furthest, the team that progressed the furthest the last time out, and lost against Uruguay on penalties, and went so close to making the semi-finals. And I think hopefully a lot of African nations are hoping this will be the year.
Free kick to Qatar. It's inside the Senegal half. Qatar, who haven't really been anywhere near the Senegal penalty area so far. There was one cross from Hammam Ahmed that was blocked on the edge of the box, but Afif is standing over this free kick now, and he's waving his arms, and he's trying to get the movement of his teammates. Hassan Al-Heidos, the captain, is there too. 170th cap for Qatar's number 10 today. In the end, they take the free kick short. Now Afif will play it in towards the back post, headed down by Ismail Mohammed, but he can't pick out a teammate, and Senegal haven't been able to clear it away. Al-Heidos has done really well to keep it in play on the right hand side. Back behind him is Ismail Mohammed. Here's the right foot across, not bad at all. Koulibaly rises, falls to Afif, miles out. He tries to hit it on the half volley, and he can't keep it down, but it'll count. It'll count as an attempt from Qatar as they look to try and impose some of this strength that you spoke about, Stephen Warnock. There is a bit more grit about them than I think in the opening game.
Yeah, there's not a reluctance to put the ball in the box as well. Don't pass on the opportunity to put the ball into the area. They've done that. It's caused a few problems within the Senegalese defensive area, and then as it falls to Afif, it's always such a difficult skill as it's coming towards him. It's always rising. Difficult to get his knee over the ball and keep it low. It rises and keeps on rising and goes into the crowd behind the goal.
Senegal's chance to come on the attack with a tricky Diatta on the left-hand side. Oh, he's done very well here after a misplaced clearance by Mohammed, and he shoots from the tight angle and has to be saved out for a corner by Shal Bashan. The goalkeeper had his angles covered at the near post, and with both gloves he pushes it out. There was a mistake initially there from Mohammed, and a good recovery to get back and make the challenge, I think, from Khouki, and that eventually was saved out for the corner. Corner to Senegal on the left-hand side. Qatar bring everyone back. Idrissa Gueye of Everton, who's earning his 98th cap for Senegal, is the player to take it. There is much jostling for position in the middle. A false run-up from Idrissa Gueye. Now here he comes, right-footed, a floater. Goalkeeper came and missed it. Oh, he's lucky, Basham. It's headed away off target. That was real floundering by the 24-year-old goalkeeper. He never looked likely to get that. Pedro Miguel has gone down injured. There's also a Senegalese player down as well. I think it's Abou Diallo, but that was so close to being the opening goal of the game, and the goalkeeper Michel Bacham is mightily relieved.
Oh, he's a lucky boy, because he's in no man's land as he comes for it. He doesn't even try and punch it, he just flaps at it, he just pushes a palm towards it. And Al Shaib, who played in the last game, lost his place because of the frailties of coming out to collect crosses and how weak he looked. It doesn't look like they've had much of an improvement in that area, and that is a real concern from a Senegalese point of view. Keep on putting the ball in the box.
Yeah, the two players at the clash of heads, they're both down receiving treatment, and I think that's all that saved Bashim, the goalkeeper there. He's come out and completely missed it. The other two clash heads. If it wasn't for that clash of head, there's every chance Abdou Diallo would have scored.
Yeah, quite possibly. Just takes his eye off it, and because he knows there's a challenge not only coming in from the goalkeeper but coming in from the defender as well. Luckily, it looks like both players are going to find their way to the feet. I think it's Miguel who's clashed heads with Diallo as well.
Yeah, well, there's a delay here. I think, you know, Pedro Miguel, the reason he gets hurt is the player lands on him. Diallo, as he's falling to the ground, lands on the leg of Pedro Miguel, I think, and I think that's the reason that he's down getting treatment. We've got this break in play. You can see the perspiration of the players. You can see their shirts are sticking to their bodies in the Qatari heat. Just a reminder of what's coming up later on after Wales' defeat to Iran in the 10 a.m. kickoff UK time. There's a lot of World Cup football to come. The Dutch against Ecuador is a 4 o'clock start. The Netherlands, who've only ever lost 2 games to South American opposition at World Cups, they have a very good record against South American teams. They take on Ecuador this afternoon, and then from 7 p.m. this evening back to Group B, England against USA. Correspondent John Murray will be alongside Rob Green for that one, the 3rd ever meeting of England and the USA at the World Cup. And Stephen, England have yet to beat the Americans. Could this be the opportunity?
Yeah, you'd look at it on paper and you'd say, after the result against Iran and the way America played in the second half against Wales, that you'd fancy England to go into that game as strong favourites. Don't knock the confidence of the Americans, though. They will go into that game feeling fully confident that they can continue that good reign of form against England.
Yeah, England, who infamously lost in 1950 to the Americans, and in South Africa in 2010 it was a 1-1 draw, USA against England.
I was there. I was part of the squad. Yes. It was a surprise. It was. We fully expected to win that game.
I remember being in the area at the time with the American fans. I mean, they absolutely celebrated that as a victory at the time. As for the here and now, Qatar 0, Senegal 0. 20 minutes played in the first half of the El Soumana Stadium, and the first yellow card has been shown. Ismail Mohammed, one of the 3 changes in the Qatar team for this second game of the tournament for the hosts, is shown yellow.
Yeah, I'd like to see that again, because my initial thoughts were, first of all, that he got something on the ball. It was a side tackle on Dia, and I think that's very harsh for a yellow card, and it's obviously with him being a centre-back as well, playing in that position, leaves him walking a tightrope now.
That does appear on the replay we've just seen to be a harsh decision for Ismail Mohammed, who goes into the referee's notebook as the first booking of the game so far. It's taken 20 minutes. It's a game that's been fiercely competitive. There's been one decent attempt from Ismail Assar to try and beat Michel Basham. There's been that flap by the goalkeeper too. But we haven't had too many attempts on target in the match so far. Senegal have possession with Idrissa Gueye.
Well, 20 minutes in, we've got a competitive game. We didn't have that the other night against
This is
Ecuador.
how Qatar wish they'd started against Ecuador.
Absolutely.
Cross from Sabali on the right-hand side is way overcooked. It sails over everyone, and it bounces out harmlessly for a goal kick away to our right-hand side. So coverage of every match of the 2022 World Cup on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. You can get the World Cup Daily podcast each morning. The reaction, the debate, the analysis on that podcast on BBC Sounds. And while you're on BBC Sounds, check out the Match of the Day Top 10. A good laugh with Gary, Alan and Micah, and that is out and available on BBC Sounds right now. Everything feels so World Cup centric at the moment, but tomorrow, Saturday, FA Cup second round, you can listen on 5 Sports Extra at Forest Green against Alvechurch, and also Dagenham and Redbridge against Gillingham. So football exists elsewhere, even with everything going on in Qatar.
I'm at Forest Green.
Are you going?
I am. I'm covering it for TV tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. A little bit of a change away from the World Cup, and that should be a cracking game.
Free kick to Senegal, and Palace Mendy. He's going to leave it for one of his teammates to play into the penalty area. Now, will they test the goalkeeper here? Michel Basham, who looked all at sea with the last set piece when he came and floundered at the corner. And Ishmael Jacobs, the left back, looks like he's going to play this as an in-swinger from the right-hand side. It's fully 20 yards outside the penalty area. Right-hand side of Senegal come forward. And Idrissa Gueye has just come over and whispered something into his ear, and I'd be surprised if it isn't put this down the throat of the goalkeeper. Fake run up by Idrissa Gueye. Jacobs plays it in left foot. It didn't quite have the elevation he needed. There's a defender pushed in there, and that is going to be a free kick. Boulem Kouki is the player who was just... I think, actually, to be fair, that Jeju's done much wrong there, but down went Kouki holding his face, and the referee bought it and gave the free kick.
Yeah, he did buy it very soft, minimal contact, but I suppose that the referees are so worried about any contacts causing the disturbance leading to a goal that they're just going to blow straight away.
Free kick to Qatar. Not very comforting from Michel Basham, the way he played that. It was almost intercepted by Jeju. Well, they had a rocky goalkeeper in the opening game, and I think this decision from the coach Felix Sanchez to give someone else a try hasn't quite given the solid foundations he was hoping for, Stephen.
No, it's not looking that way. If you're a Senegalese player, you're just thinking, just stick it on the goalkeeper, and you said it, Connor, you said when Idrissa Gueye came over, just put it under his crossbar. Make sure that you give him something to come and try and claim, and see whether he's up for the challenge.
What's your view on the decision to rotate the keepers? Because, you know, we know from club football, from international football, that there's very few teams that ever have a rotation of that position. You always tend to have a number one. And even if he has a bad game, he's given another chance, sort of thing. To immediately hook him after one game, do you end up, in effect, with 2 nervous goalkeepers?
Well, he doesn't become a bad goalkeeper off one game, and you don't. It's not like you haven't seen him in training all week, and well, they've been training for the last 6 months. So you don't make a decision and say, oh, he can't come out and claim balls all of a sudden. I think it's disappointing.
Did they need a scapegoat, do you think? Just one guy to blame?
Yeah, possibly. But for you want continuity with the defenders.
Idrissa Gueye with a shot for the edge of the penalty area. Neat 1-2 on the edge of the box, and he kept it low, but he couldn't get it on target. He's dragged it wide on the left-hand side. Idrissa Gueye, who's got 7 international goals in the past, one of them in the qualifiers against Namibia. He didn't catch it badly, wasn't that far away at all.
No, he caught it sweetly, and I think it surprised both of us, because suddenly he just injected a little bit of pace into the pass. Little 1-2, give and go with Dia, and then he just strikes it across the body, going into the far corner. It just goes whisker past the far left-hand post. Really good move from Idrissa Gueye.
Idrissa Gueye is one of those players who's got to be careful today. He was booked against the Netherlands on Monday. If he was to be shown another yellow card today, he would miss The final group game against Ecuador as Sabali gives it short to Gay. Looks to return the 1-2, which seemed to be a good return. And Sabali is intimating there that he was held onto by Hassan El Hedous as he tried to scamper after it. But the officials weren't buying that. And it will be a goal kick to Qatar. Way to the right-hand side. Good noise inside this stadium, which will host 8 games in all at this World Cup. It was the venue for Senegal's opening game, the 2-0 defeat to the Netherlands. It was also the venue for that 7-0 win for Spain against Costa Rica on Wednesday. So this pitch has seen plenty of goals so far. Senegal have had 5 attempts at goals so far. However, only one of them on target. In a game that remains for now, Qatar 0, Senegal 0.
Yeah, it's been a really good start to the game from Senegal. Qatar have held firm, they've been strong, they do look better than the other night, and now we're seeing them come on the attack again.
And it's a burst forward by the defender Hassan, who gives it the big welly, and I think did it take a deflection off Idrissa Gueye. He made a big run. He wants a corner here. We're going to get to see a replay. I think that's definitely a corner. It comes off Idrissa Gueye after, I mean, it bobbled a little bit in front of it, but actually that just led to him getting more power, almost like a little half volley on it. Ball is pumped long down the other end. Jadu allows it to bounce, and Bashad, that'll do his confidence the world of good. The goalkeeper comes out, dives at the feet of Ismaila Sarr and makes a good save, and that's the best contribution the Qatari replacement keeper has made in the game so far.
Yeah, really alert. He had to be on the edge of his box to come out and claim the ball, Barsha. And he did really well, but now we're seeing the Qataris growing confidence as they come forward again.
Al Hedous onto Boudiaf. Now Ismail Mohammed on the right-hand side gives it into the penalty area, but that's where the move breaks down, and Ali Moez Ali isn't able to hold on to it. And Senegal regain possession once again with Abdou Diallo. 0-0, 27 minutes play.
Has to be better there, Ali. He has to know that there's players around him. And great anticipation from Idrissa Gueye just to step in and know that he's going to turn into his player. But you've got to understand, you're in the penalty box, you're not going to be afforded that much space.
Perhaps of encouragement from Felix Sanchez, the Qatar coach, who's the 7th Spaniard to take charge of a nation other than Spain at a World Cup tournament. Senegal have won a corner here down the left-hand side. Cookie's clearance, which looked routine, which looked like he could have just put it out for a throw-in. He sliced it out for a corner. Of all those Spaniards who've taken charge of other countries, only one of them has ever reached the knockout stages of a World Cup, and that's Roberto Martinez with Belgium 4 years ago in Russia, and he'll hope to do it again here in Qatar as the corner comes in from the far side. Headed away by Almoez Ali, the forward, who was back helping out the defence of the set piece, and it goes out of play for a throw into Qatar. To Senegal, midway inside the Qatar half, left-hand side for them. Sabali, who won the Copa del Rey with Betis earlier on this year. It's a little 1-2 with Ismaila Sarr. Watford player whose form this season a little bit has matched his club, Watford. He's been great on occasions, and then he's had very quiet spells as well. But we know he's got a lot of potential. Here is Crepin Diatta, cross from the left-hand side. Cookie was backpedaling on the edge of his 6-yard box. Jumps once, jumps twice. Second header isn't good. Goes backwards. Barsham's got to come out. And then the follow-up by Sabali with the goalkeeper down on the deck, but the referee's whistle blows. And Qatar has saved some blushes there. And Barsham, who's done well in shot-saving situations, but coming out airily. Okay, he's got his fist to that, but it all looked a bit messy.
Yeah, I think he had to punch it though. I don't think he could have claimed it because he was under pressure from Ismaila Sarr, so he had to come through the ball and make sure it was a good punch. Just unfortunately for him, it fell to the Senegal right back, Sabali, who lashes it wide of the goal. It was a poor effort in the end. Probably taken a little bit more care in the shot at goal.
Live in BBC Sounds and across Africa on the BBC World Service. 0-0 between Qatar and Senegal as Youssouf Sabali mops things up on the edge of his own penalty area, gives it back to the Chelsea goalkeeper Edouard Mendy. Those two play a couple of 1-2s between them, and then eventually Mendy gives it the big boot away downfield, where I see Modibo wins the header. Then he gets it back down the deck and shuffles it onto Hassan El Hedous, who will attack down the right-hand side. He's got support too from Ismail Mohammed. The cross needs to be good here. It's very hoisted, and Mendy comes, and that's really good calm goalkeeping. Hands high above his head. Edouard Mendy gathers, tries to launch a counter-attack. He's picked out Ismaila Sarr. Basham's come out of his penalty area. He just about got a touch to it, and then he gathers the headed ball that looped up into the air. Oh, hearts and mouths for Qatar there, but Michel Basham gets away with it.
Oh, he does get away with it, Connor, because it's terrible goalkeeping. He just doesn't need to come at all. He makes his mind up that he's coming. He gets in the way of the defender, and then fortuitously it ends up back in his hands from his own defender, who heads it up into the air. He's going to be entertaining today.
What a clearance, by the way, from Edouard Mendy. I mean, that was like one of those Alisson from Mo Salah assists there. The clearance from the goalkeeper after catching the ball was a perfect pass to the Watford winger.
Yeah, lovely sidewinder of a kick into the forward. He sets them on the attack. That will be a danger, because you can see Qatar are trying to play a high line, and it was a lovely catch and take from Mendy.
There's a yellow card now for Boulaye Dia, the centre forward for Senegal, who was late in his challenge on Hamed Ahmed there, so he goes into the referee's notebook. One yellow card apiece now so far. We've played a half an hour. The good news for Qatar, they've had as many touches in the opposition penalty area already in this game as they did in the full 90 minutes plus stoppage time against Ecuador last weekend.
There's been more intent. There's been a calmness to them. They understand. The one thing when I watched Qatar the other night was they were far too expansive. It's like they feel that they can just come and use it as not a training exercise, but what they do on a training pitch. You have to respect the team you're playing. They'll move the ball quicker, they'll make it difficult for you in transition. I think they've tightened up those gaps, and now you can see that they're trying to find a way up the pitch thoughtfully.
Just the break in play, and Hamed Ahmed is the player getting treatment. We've seen a few more replays of that incident when Michel Basham came right out to the edge of the penalty area and cleared away with his feet. Now, there's no doubt he gets a touch on the ball first, but then he follows through, and I wonder if there's an argument to say that Ismaila Sarr might have been able to get onto that ball had the goalkeeper not followed through and kicked him. It's not completely clear-cut, but I think there's a conversation to be had.
I think it falls under that bracket. If it's not the goalkeeper,
correct,
then it's a foul.
Yeah, any other player on the pitch, goalkeepers do get treated a little bit carefully. We've still got this break in play. Just to let you know, we're going to hear from the Wales coach, Rob Page, during a half-time in this game. We'll be back in the studio with Steve Crosswell. We'll get more reaction to Wales' defeat against Iran earlier on. I mean, I wonder, I don't think there's going to be many complaints for Wales, Stephen, because Iran played so well in that game.
They played really well, counter-attack well, looked better technically than Wales. Wales looked very, very fatigued, and it just gets the sense at the moment that he's very loyal, Rob Page, to his players, and you look at the changes, and I know perhaps Ramsey should have been taken off the pitch. I think he just showed signs of fatigue, and then late on in the game, obviously the Hennessy red card doesn't help the situation, but they should have been behind before that.
Yeah, Wales are going to rouse themselves for their final group game. They have one more chance to try and keep the dream going. Anyway, we'll hear from Rob Page at half-time in this match. We will also be previewing the next game up, the 4 o'clock kickoff UK time, the Netherlands against Ecuador. Ecuador, who haven't conceded a single goal in their last 7 matches. Can they keep the Dutch out? That's going to be one to look forward to.
The stoppage in play when Ahmed went down, it wasn't for an injury on his ankle. He actually fell on his hand funny, and he's had treatment on his wrist. What made me laugh was all the Qatari players helping him back up by his wrist.
Pulling the injured limb.
Yeah.
Assam Madibo plays a good ball. Afif, he's in here. Big chance. Oh, he wants a penalty. He's gone down so easily. And the referee says no. He'd a chance to shoot, Stephen. He wanted the penalty. The feet seem to go from underneath him. He's waiting for the contact. We'll wait to see the replay. Afif has got his hands clasped in prayer, and he's waving at the Spanish referee, and the video assistant referee's going to have a look at this. But Afif, for me, he's waiting for the challenge. What do you make of it, Stephen Warner?
Well, straight away, my thought was he's got every right to cut across. It's Ismaila Sarr who gets back. He doesn't get any contact on the ball. I think it's clumsy. I think that is very, very clumsy. That is more of a penalty than the one on Ronaldo last night.
Yeah, well, the referee at the time said no. The video assistant referee will be in his ear. The VAR is Alejandro Hernandez of Spain, and there is no indication the play is going to be held up here. If they take the goal kick, it'll be done and dusted. Had the VAR asked for the delay, we get to see another replay. It just, for me, and I know what you're saying, he's allowed to shield and protect the ball. For me, he's leaning in, saying, "Come on, touch me," and as soon as he does, he goes down.
He wants it because he knows the angle's too tight, and I think he thinks his touch isn't the best touch to get away. But when we talk about consistency on decisions, if you're going to give the Ronaldo one last night, you have to give that one as well.
It's a talking point, it really is. And for the hosts, looking for their first goal of the tournament, it's a huge one. Here is trouble. Sarr takes advantage of a bad pass. Oh, but it can't be finished off by Deju. And Basham's able to dive down to his left, but it's not even a proper save. They couldn't get the final shot through there. Qatar's defensive mistake goes unpunished.
Well, Kuki does really well just to get a little toe end on the ball. Here we go again. Senegal, I tell you, you look at Qatar when they break forward. Senegal are very light in the fullback positions. They're throwing the fullbacks forward, and credit to Afif and Ali, they're running the channels extremely well, and today they're finding out balls.
It's been quite gung-ho from Senegal, and I'm just looking at the stats. I mean, almost half, the last 15-20 minutes of this game, 42% of the action has been in the Qatari final third. That's almost half the game in the final third, which shows how high up the pitch that Senegal are being. And I guess from our neutral point of view, it makes it exciting, because when a team plays that high up the pitch, it doesn't matter who you are, there is a huge chance of being exploited on the counter-attack.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, me and yourself come into games and we wonder how it's going to pan out, and we looked at this game and we thought this could be a heavy scoreline. But it hasn't been that type of game. It's been completely the opposite from what we expected. I've really enjoyed it so far.
Some of the games have been a flurry of goals, but there's been a lot of nil-nils, isn't there? Koulibaly plays it forward and it's cleared away by Cookie.
You said it the other day and we got a 0-0.
I know, I'm trying to get the opposite effect. I'm trying to, if I play it down, suddenly we'll get a thriller. Here is Idrissa Gana Gueye. Ball towards the edge of the penalty area, but Boulaye Dia isn't able to hold on to it. And Assim Madibo will launch the latest counter-attack. He's held it up well in the midfield. To be fair to him, he'd no one ahead of him to pass it to. He was waiting for the cavalry to arrive, and that was slow to come. And eventually, he's crowded out of it by Senegalese defenders. And the African nation come on the counter-attack here. Boulaye Dia tries to turn to the edge of the box. The referee has blown the whistle, and he's going to come back because there's a player down injured on the halfway line. 0-0 it remains.
Yeah, they just need to catch the breath a little bit, Qatar. They've put a lot into this first half. You could see there, as the break came from Madibo, he had no one around him. He had no help whatsoever. And we talk about fitness levels having a big say in games. They could have a say in this second half as well. You could see Senegal really running over the top of Qatar in the second half.
You know, I feel that penalty shout is the big talking point of the game so far, and Afif, who's the star man for Qatar. You made the point about the Cristiano Ronaldo one. The one thing I'll say about that is, in that instant, the defender is stretching for the ball and doesn't get it ahead of the attacker. You know, but he's stretching out for it and he catches Ronaldo. You compare to this, I don't think the defender is making that lunge. I think it's coming from the attack. It's a small nuance, and you're saying consistency, but for me that is a difference.
Yeah, I think Ismaila Sarr tries to jump round the player to sort of hook the ball with his leg, and then when he does that, he bundles his quad into his backside, and that's where the contact comes. The big thing being a former defender is the attacker always has control. If he gets his body in between the ball and the man, he's always in control. You always run that risk.
Afif desperately wanted the penalty there. My view, I think he went down to, keep your feet and try and get a shot in. It's a side of goal, and Qatar hadn't had a shot in the whole tournament on target. You know, I'm really surprised he didn't just go for it. But that's a big moment in this game, and 0-0 it remains. Senegal have got another free kick here in their attacking third. And Basham, who still looks a little bit Bambi on ice, if that's fair. He came out of his penalty area, he tried to do a little drag back to bring the ball back into the box, and he actually lost it under his own studs. So he was fortunate one of his teammates was there and able to clear away, but he doesn't look altogether comfortable, this goalkeeper who's been thrust into the limelight, having replaced Al Shab, who had a shocker in the opening game.
You're not turning around as a Qatar defender thinking, that's safe. I feel really comfortable with him behind me.
A day when goalkeepers have been in the headlines, and Wayne Hennessy, who made some brilliant saves for Wales but was sent off, and no real complaints about his challenge. It was really rash outside his penalty area that he had to see red for. Goalkeepers in the news in that opening game today in the World Cup, and goalkeepers in the news here with Michel Barsham, who I think is going to give us a headline one way or the other. 0-0 for now.
And you jinxed that as well, didn't you? Because when you came into the room, you said, there hasn't been a red card yet in the World Cup, has there?
It did. I'll give you the lottery numbers later as well. Here is Idrissa Gueye playing the ball forward for Senegal, but cut out by Pedro Miguel, who rolls it back to the goalkeeper, Michel Barsham, and actually surprised Senegal aren't pressing in on him a little bit more. You'd expect a real press on the goalkeeper, who looks as wobbly as he's been. Possession with Senegal, with Abdou Diallo, left-hand side of defence. It's it back again from Ismail Jacobs, who's one of the two changes in the Senegal team from their opening defeat to the Netherlands. Both these sides lost 2-0 in their opening game. Senegal will feel there is still time to get this group swung around in their favour, and still time to progress. This is Diatta, left-hand side, leaning back as he plays a right-footed cross into the penalty area. It's not been dealt with! It's a terrible defensive mistake! Boulaye Dia will score, but they'll all look to Kuki. He should have cleared it. Boulaye Dia's fourth international goal, the man who's stepping up to fill that striking position vacated by the injured Sadio Mane, and he scores Senegal's first goal at the World Cup, and they lead Qatar 1-0.
Well, it's an instinctive strike from Dia as he runs onto the ball. It's just a poor error from Kuki. The ball comes into the striking into the central area. He falls on his backside, the ball sticks under his feet. He then tries to have a swipe at it. He misses it completely, and Dia just runs onto it, and it's a brilliant strike. He's just past the goalkeeper Barsham before he can even dive. It is clinical. Would you say it's deserved? I'm not so sure.
I'm not so sure either. I think it's an error that has opened the door for Senegal. Kuki, who's an experienced player, this is his 105th cap, but he will play another 100 times and not make a mistake like that. That is schoolboy stuff. And at the World Cup level, you make an error like that inside your penalty area. He fell to his backside. The ball was laid on a plate, and Boulaye Dia reacted well to give Senegal the lead.
Yeah, it's clinical from Dia. It really is. It's instinctive as to where the ball's going to fall, and whether the defender will miss it. But from Kuki's point of view, he had one earlier where he mishit it round the corner. He's been nervous, he has looked a little bit edgy. Does that come from the goalkeeper as well? His performance behind, that he feels that he has to really be on his best game today, and he's taken his attention away from his own performance.
Liverpool fans will remember Boulaye Dia. He scored for Villarreal against Liverpool in the Champions League semi-final last season. He actually played 5 games against English opponents last season. He played against Chelsea in the Super League. He played against Manchester United and Liverpool in the Champions League. But he's taken his chance here in a game that has not been brimming with quality. But that is a moment which, if Senegal hadn't taken and scored, they'd be furious with themselves. The mistake was made, and Dia has pounced, and Senegal have got their first goal, and they lead for the first time in a match at this World Cup.
Yeah, it's been a well-balanced game. Both teams not really having too many opportunities, not really creating too much, and then it's just taken a mistake at the back to get the breakthrough in this game.
Deju gets onto a through ball into the penalty area, but he had set off at his run just a fraction too early, and he was offside. So I think I'm right in saying as well, Stephen, that this is now the first time an African nation has been in front in a game at this World Cup.
It is, yeah, absolutely, because Ghana last night against Portugal fell behind. They were the only team to score, weren't they, in a game for today's game. And now we have Senegal ahead.
Listening to this game on the radio, maybe you're in the car on the way home or into the office or something, remember that if you were watching some of it on BBC television later on in the second half, you can go to the World Cup extra section on BBC iPlayer, and you can choose to watch the pictures but listen to it with our 5 live commentary, and it's all perfectly synced together. You can do that for every game that is on BBC TV during the tournament. You can choose to have the radio commentary. Pedro Miguel's been caught late. He's down holding his rib cage. Referee has come across to see he wants some treatment, and he does. He's calling the physio on. It is Qatar 0, Senegal 1. It's been a very physical game so far. It hasn't been high on quality, but it's been a proper battle.
Yeah, this is going to hurt Miguel. He goes up for a header, and it's his own player who actually collides with him. And it's Ismail Mohammed who just knees him in the rib cage. And I wouldn't be surprised if he broke a couple of ribs here, because it looks so painful. Really sore.
Treatment for him. We get his chance to watch the goal again. Good finish from Dia, but he would have been mortified if he hadn't scored from there after that opportunity. We just saw a close-up on our monitors of Felix Sanchez, the Qatar coach, and for any of our listeners who don't know his story, he was a youth coach at Barcelona back in 2006. Qatar came in and headhunted him. They said, right, we are taking you, you know how to work with kids, come and build a team for us. And he came to Qatar, and I don't think the original idea was for him to end up as the head coach as we move into stoppages, which is, we don't even raise our eyebrow anymore. 7 minutes to be added on for stoppages, the break. That's the way it's been at this World Cup, as Koulibaly holds his ground on the edge of his penalty area and cleared away. But Sanchez came in, he's working with the kids, they do well, the under-17s, the under-20s, he takes charge of the under-23s, with most of these guys playing in it as a fief here. Does some dazzling footwork to hold on to possession, but in the end he's got to retreat back towards the halfway line. He ended up coming in, he was the 8th coach in 6 years into the team for the Asian game, the Asian Cup, and he won that tournament. I think when he won that tournament, that was it then. They had to hold on to him as the senior coach for this World Cup, but he does look frustrated down there. He has given the last 15 years of his life towards this, and I'm not sure it's working out the way he would have wanted. A 2-0 defeat in the opening game, and Qatar 1-0 down here as Senegal go looking for a second before the break. Diatta breaking in on the left-hand side. Kuki, the man who opened the door for the opening goal, clears away, but Qatar can't hold on to it, and Koulibaly plays it back to his Chelsea teammate Edouard Mendy.
Yeah, he will be frustrated because he would have felt his team were in the game, and they certainly were, but for that mistake from Kuki, which allowed Boulaye Dia to score the opening goal of the game. Before that, it had been that's late.
The officials are going to be busy here. We've had 2 yellow cards already, and I'll be surprised. Yeah, there's going to be another one here. Savali was caught very, very late, and it's a balancing high wire act for Qatar here. They've got to show enthusiasm. They've got to give everything, but they can't risk going down to 10 men. I mean, they're finding it difficult enough with 11, and that is now Haman Ahmed into the referee's notebook too. Yeah,
we said we wanted them to be more physical and wanted them to be more aggressive, but there's certain ways of doing that. That's very, very late from Ahmed.
Ahmed goes in to the referee's notebook where he joins Ismail Mohammed. So the 2 wing-backs now carrying yellow cards, which would be good news to the wingers of Senegal, Ismail Assar and Crépin Diatta. Free kick will be taken by Koulibaly inside the Senegal half. You've played a couple of minutes of the 7 being added on for stoppages. Ball is headed out of play by Abdul Karim Hassan. Throwing much further up the field now for Senegal, midway inside the Qatar half, but it's given away. Haman Ahmed clears it up over the top, where Akram Afif will sprint onto it, but comfortably beaten to the ball by Abdou Diallo, who shows a lot of composure to dribble around his opponent and give it to Idrissa Gana Gueye in the midfield, who, as we know, is very safe in possession. He rarely gives it away. That's a great ball down the right channel, and getting there first is Ismail Assar, but his cross is too close to the goalkeeper, and Michel Basha makes the save.
Yeah, but Sarr was caught after the cross came in from Ahmed, who's just been booked. He's got to be so careful. You see that play down the wings from Senegal. Qatar playing the 3-5-2 system. It always leaves gaps in behind down the sides, and Senegal are starting to find them gaps now.
Chance for Qatar to maybe come forward. Afif controls it just outside the penalty area. Left-hand side, 2 defenders in front of him. Makes a burst towards the byline, sends it in low, and Koulibaly doesn't take any chances. There was no opponent behind him, but he side-puts it out for a corner anyway. It's a corner for Qatar. I think it's their first corner, Stephen. It has come 49 minutes into the game. Can they make this count?
Well, you look at the size difference and you think it'd be comfortable for Senegal to deal with set pieces. Will they try something different, or will they just look to try and find the centre-backs?
Thief plays it in, right-footed, in-swinger, easily headed away by Big Jeju, who was back helping out the defence. There wasn't even a Qatari player challenging for that, and that is the frustration. As you mentioned, the physical difference in terms of the height of the players, and you lump it in like that, it is always going to be likely that a Senegal player will be able to clear it away. Now, I'm hearing that many fans are making their way towards the exits. I just wonder, might that be looking for half-time refreshments rather than actually going home? And you would hope that it's going to be the first. But a lot of talk about Qatar fans not being happy to stick around if things aren't going well for their team. We certainly saw that against Ecuador. And many are making their way towards the corridors and the steps out down onto the concourse at the moment, presumably just for half-time.
I hope so.
Qatar 0, Senegal 1.
I hope so. This has been a great game. Yeah. So far, you look at it's competitive. So why would you be looking to leave this game?
Ball is played by Homan Ahmed. That's a good crossfield pass, and he's picked out Ismail Mohammed on the right-hand side with the yellow boots. He gives it the outside of the boot into the penalty area. Ali sprints after it, but Edouard Mendy anticipated all of that and comes out and bravely dives at the feet of the striker.
Just a fraction off there from Mohammed, just getting the ball into Ali. Really intelligent run. He just drops his shoulder, gets in behind Diallo.
Just on that of the Qatar fans, Shamoun Hafiz of BBC Sport, who's inside the stadium, he says plenty of fans heading towards the exits, but it might be that they're going for Maghrib prayers, but they might be coming back in, so we'll keep an eye on that. But with half-time approaching, 1-0 down, Qatar would appear to have it all to do. Sabali plays it back to Koulibaly, and a long ball down the field is intercepted by Boulem Khouki. He's the player, if you're just joining our coverage here on 5 Live or BBC Sounds or the BBC World Service across Africa, his mistake presented the opportunity for Senegal to take the lead. The goal scored from close range by Boulaye Diaz. Afif gives the ball away again, and it's just not happening for Qatar.
No, it's not. He was in a 1v1 situation with Koulibaly, and what I liked about it, even though he's lost the ball, he hasn't looked and thought, oh, it's Koulibaly, I'll turn back, I'll play safe. He's tried to run him, he's tried to take him on, which is positive.
Big mistakes from Qatar again. A coach, Felix Sanchez, said his team were nervous in their opening game. I'm quite sure it's the nerves as much. They're trying here, they've exuded an air of confidence in the opening stages, but the quality is shining through, and might be the Asian champions against the African champions, but you look at the clubs that these Senegal players play for around Europe, big teams, the quality is shining through at the moment as Idrissa Gueye helps it on to Dia, edge of the penalty area, right-hand side as Senegal come forward. Ismaila Sarr, back to Dia once again. That's not a good pass for Leicester's Nampalys Mendy, but it's picked up by Abou Diallo, and he plays it towards the edge of the penalty area. Now the time is up, and after 7 minutes of stoppages at the end of the break, the teams will make their way towards the changing rooms for half-time. So, a big penalty shout for Akram Afif that wasn't given, a big defensive howler for Boulem Khouki, and it's Qatar 0, Senegal 1, Stephen Warner.
Yeah, it's been a competitive game now. I think we looked at the teams from the previous games and we wondered what type of performance especially we would get from Qatar, but they've competed, they've found gaps in between the lines, they've actually tried to get forward on numerous occasions, just haven't had that quality in the final third. And the game's been swung on a defensive mistake from Khouki, which was just seized upon by Boulaye Dia, and it was a great finish into the bottom right-hand corner. Puts it past the goalkeeper Barsham, who had no chance of saving it.
Right, Senegal's World Cup is up and running. They've got their first goal. Can they hang on for their first win? And at the moment, Qatar's contribution to this World Cup is absolutely hanging by a thread, because they could be going out effectively today. They would have one more game to go, but it might not matter depending on the result here, and Netherlands against Ecuador later on. But for now, Steve, Qatar 0, Senegal 1.
Stephen, it's a massive moment for Boulaye Dia, but from the Qatari perspective, that defending is a proper I wish the stadium would open up and swallow me moment.
We've all had them, Steve, and it's one of them moments where you make a mistake, you slip, you fall, you don't quite read the ball properly coming into you, and it's seized upon, and you're just hoping that the striker drags his shot or it's saved by the goalkeeper. And unfortunately for Khouki, it's seized upon by Dia, and it's a clinical finish. But it's just sad that that's changed the way that the game's gone, because Qatar were in the game, they were playing well.
Stephen, Connor, thank you very much for the time being. That Senegalese soundtrack in the background has been constant throughout the first half. Senegal leading Qatar by 1-0. If it stays that way, then the hosts would go out of their own tournament in the first week. If Netherlands draw with Ecuador, that's our 4 o'clock game. We'll be inside the Khalifa International Stadium looking ahead to that shortly. And we'll also get more reaction to Wales' defeat by Iran. We'll hear from the manager Rob Page after the news on 5 Live with Richard Foster.
Take the World Cup with you. Qatar 2022.
On BBC Sounds, this is BBC Radio 5 Live.
A woman with Down syndrome has lost her challenge to a law which allows abortion up until birth for babies with her condition. Judges at the Court of Appeal dismissed Heidi Krauter's case. She's now planning to take it to the Supreme Court. Our correspondent Robin Brandt has more.
She challenged the government on the basis that the 1967 abortion law, she says it is discriminatory. She says it stigmatises people like her and their place in society.
A former soldier's been convicted of unlawfully killing a 23-year-old in Northern Ireland in 1988. A judge in Belfast ruled that David Holden, who's 53, was guilty of manslaughter by gross negligence for his role in the shooting of Aidan McAnespie at a border crossing in County Tyrone. A man has appeared in court in Nottingham charged with murdering a woman and her 2 young daughters who died in a fire at their home. Jamie Barrow, who's 31, was remanded in custody. Naima and Fatima Drame died on Sunday from smoke inhalation. Their mother, Fatoumata Hajara, died on Tuesday. NHS leaders say they'll do everything in their power to minimise the disruption for patients when nurses strike next month. The Royal College of Nursing has announced staff across England, Wales and Northern Ireland will walk out on the 15th and 20th of December. Latest data suggests Black Friday sales are off to a steady start. Barclaycard says spending is similar to last year, despite predictions are to be lower due to the rising cost of living. Paula Nichols from Argos says she's confident they'll shift enough stock.
Black Friday is always the biggest day of the year. It's about twice the size of a normal Friday. So, it's quite a different year from last year when we were struggling to get hold of stock and the availability, supply chain issues were widely known. But no, this year we're feeling very confident and we're expecting a strong day.
And Kanye West says he'll run for president in 2024. He's put out a video saying that he's claiming to have Donald Trump to be his running mate.
The best live sport.
The FIFA World Cup, Qatar 2022.
Coverage of every game
On 5 Live.
and BBC Sounds. Group B continues this evening at 7 with England versus USA.
Wilson now into the area, plays it across, Grealish! What a start for England in Doha!
Pulisic now is running forward, and he threads it through, and here is where, and the United States has scored!
Take the World Cup with you.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
BBC 5 Live.
The FIFA World Cup, Qatar 2022 with Steve Crossman.
Yes, Kelly Cates and the team will be inside the Al Bayt Stadium for England versus the USA. 7 o'clock kickoff. If England win, they are through to the last 16, and that is because of Iran's 2-0 victory over Wales earlier today. Let's hear from the Wales head coach Rob Page. Here he is with Carl Roberts.
You made changes, you went for the game. It didn't quite work out. Was it the red card?
No, our performance before the red card was not acceptable. It's we hoped it all come together today, and we were nowhere near the levels we've set, the standards we've set of recent games. And when you're off par, when you get one or two you can carry, when there's so many off days, there's only going to be one outcome.
You fronted up the other day. You took the blame, if that's the right word, or you took responsibility. Is it all on you today?
Yeah, I'll always take responsibility. Yeah, that's my team, so yeah. The sending off didn't help, of course it didn't, but I had 5 forwards on the pitch by then, so we couldn't really get a defensive shape after that. So we were quite open in the middle of the park, but I'll always take responsibility for performances.
It looks like it's taken the wind out of you all from the few that I've spoken to today. It's going to be a job, isn't it, to get up for Monday night? I know you will, but it's going to be a big test of your managerial skills here.
Yeah, of course, we're all in it's a difficult changing room at the minute, but we'll have a team ready. It's a local derby, it's a great game to finish on, and we'll be prepared, ready to go again.
And Wales will have to win that game to have any chance of going through. Let's talk about 2 teams who got off to the perfect start at this World Cup. Netherlands and Ecuador, who play each other in our next game at 4 o'clock. We can go live inside the Khalifa International Stadium. That's where we find Ali Bruce Bull and Matt Upson. Afternoon, chaps.
Hey, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Hello. Big question, Ali, for Ecuador is the fitness of Enner Valencia. Played on with an injury, having scored twice in the opening game.
Yeah, that's right. And the coach has said, basically, Gustavo Alfaro, the coach of Ecuador, has said he'll play through fire to get on the pitch for Ecuador. So I think we're expecting him to be out there. Of course, one of the stats that was reeled out after he got those 2 goals, he's now scored Ecuador's last 5 goals at a World Cup tournament. And as you say, Steve, you know, with them both having won the first game, this is a chance to really assert yourself in the group. I think from Netherlands' point of view, I was just trying to do a bit of maths on the hoof. If they win the game, because Senegal and Ecuador play each other in their final game, if Senegal go on to beat Qatar this afternoon, I think Netherlands would already be through, so they could take it a little easier if they wanted to. Again, if Ecuador win, that's not necessarily the case, but this is a real chance, you know, to or not quite book your place in the last 16, but as good as.
You can really tell, Matt, the importance of a player when, even though he's clearly got an injury, he does everything in his power to play on. And if he's going to run through fire, then I suspect we're going to see him this afternoon.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that he'll be on the pitch. I mean, it was interesting because I was watching that first game and he obviously had a massive impact on the game, his goals. I mean, his header, I watched that back again. That was some head because the ball was behind him and he got power and guidance. I mean, it was just a brilliant header. But he got kicked a couple of times and I was thinking, I think I shouted at the TV almost like, you know, take him off. It's 2-0, just to actually get him off the pitch now, because it started to get a little bit like that, the game. But, you know, he picked up a bit of a knock. They need him fit because, you know, he's a real power player for them. And like you said, the manager, I think, will also do whatever it takes to get him on the grass.
I know it doesn't matter, and I know a win is a win, particularly at this stage of the tournament. But do you think Netherlands win over Senegal? Do you think 2-0 flattered them?
I think it probably flattered them in terms of, you know, whenever you score 2 goals relatively late in the game, people will always say, well, you know, it left it late, it wasn't a dominating, convincing performance. And I don't think it was that, but, you know, that they had the quality, that little link up between De Jong and Gakpo for Holland is just quite special. I think his timing of his runs, the little understanding they have between them. So they're always going to be a threat in certain moments in the game. And if they can keep a clean sheet, then, you know, I think they'll do okay, Holland.
I did the commentary on that game, Steve. I have to say I was slightly underwhelmed by the Netherlands in it, just considering the form they've come into this tournament with. But they were never truly troubled and got the goals in the end. Memphis Depay will make a huge difference for them, you know, when he finally comes in and starts games. I think Louis van Gaal has said possibly 45 minutes for him is the next step, but I think that you know, adds the real wow factor for them.
Ali, Matt, thank you very much for the time being. So we've got commentary on the way of that game once we're done with the match between Qatar and Senegal at the Al Tamama Stadium. You can, by the way, if you go on our Twitter feed, you will be able to see the latest episode of Would I Lie to Bruce with Ali and his, I think we can say, comedy partner, Chris Sutton, because that's what he is. We've also got, obviously, full commentary coming your way of England versus the USA at 7 o'clock. Yunus Musa's likely to start for America tonight. He played within the England youth system before he switched to the USA, and he's enjoying the chance, as a practicing Muslim, to play in a World Cup in a Muslim country.
From when they said that it was going to be in Qatar, and we qualified, thought about that because I've always wanted to come and experience living in a Muslim country where there's a mosque everywhere. You know, most of the population is Muslim, and everything's halal, and you're able to practice your religion really well. And no, I'm enjoying it. I really like it. For example, I was out in a shopping centre, and it was time to pray, and I could just go to the mosque right opposite the shop to pray. That's a key thing in religion, to be able to pray on time, things like that, and I was able to do that.
Let's talk about your switch. You grew up in the England youth ranks and at Arsenal, but last March finally decided to play for the USA.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, you had a sort of taster camp with the squad. What was that like? How do you remember that?
Yeah, so that November camp, my first 2 years ago, I just wanted to go in and see how it was, no pressure. And it turned out to be a camp that showed me that I wanted to play for these guys and this manager and this nation. Here I am today, so it's been a great journey from the day that Greg spoke to me, telling me about how we could one day get to the World Cup and hopefully if I play well and, you know, things like that. and it's a nice feeling to finally be here.
While you were with the England youth teams, did you ever meet Gareth Southgate? Because it is quite joined up, isn't it? The youth teams are connected to the senior team.
Never spoke one-on-one, but we did have a talk about him, yeah, as a team, you know. No, it was great to have the England manager speak to you at the time, like hoping one day, you know, he'll get selected by him.
At Arsenal, you were there for 7 years in the youth ranks. How do you look back on that time?
I had a great time at Arsenal, the years I was there. Great coaches, great teammates, so that was like a key time for me to develop. I learned so many details that helped me in the game, like till now, and I feel like as a player in those years I grew so much because of how good they are as an academy. Like you all know how many players they produce, so yeah, I could have never been where I am without that help, really.
Have you kept in touch with any of your former Arsenal teammates in the youth ranks, some of whom, like Bukayo Saka, are now full internationals like you? Has there been any banter since the draw through the USA and England together in the same group?
Yeah. They were shocked when they saw the news, and like it's crazy how you used to play for them and now you have to play against them, things like that, you know. And yeah, for me as well, to play against hopefully Jude Bellingham, Bukayo. I played with them before, so that would be a special moment to share the field with them, you know.
Tell me about some of the sacrifices that your family has had to make so that you can get to where you are today, here at the World Cup.
I'd say most sacrifices, yeah, it was probably from my parents. You know, the whole migration process from Ghana till now, they sacrificed so much for us to, you know, first of all, have a good life. My dad, for example, left Ghana when he was really young, younger than me, to look for a better life. Went through so many different countries, right, to find work and just be able to grow in his life and be able to settle down, right. So that ended up happening well in Italy after a lot of struggle, of course. Now, can't believe it that his son is going to play in the World Cup, and I've grown up in different countries, and every country that I've been in, I've been there for a while and had a good time and met a lot of people, and I feel part of all of those.
Really good interview. Yunus Musa there speaking to Manny Jasmi on the latest episode of the World Football Podcast. You can find that alongside, of course, the World Cup Daily on BBC Sounds. England against the USA, 7 p.m. tonight. You're also going to hear more from Tyler Adams and Brendan Aronson, the Leeds United and USA duo. Let's go back to the big game in Group A. Half-time, Qatar 0, Senegal 1. Conor McNamara and Stephen Warner watching for us. Stephen, you've talked a lot about sloppiness. You've talked a lot about second balls with Qatar. Do you think we're seeing a team that lack the kind of sharpness you lack if you don't play much football for 2 months before a major tournament?
To a certain degree, but I also just think there's a lack of quality with them, and I think that is just the truth of the matter. I just don't think they're at the level that is required to be competing against a Senegal team. However, myself and Conor were just chatting off air then, and we were saying, been disappointed in Senegal, if we're being completely honest. You think, okay, Qatar have improved, they've done better from the first game against Ecuador, but still in that first half, Senegal should be better. They should be moving the ball quicker, and they should be getting in behind this Qatar team at will, and they're not doing it.
Doing what they need to do, but no more at the moment. All yours, Conor.
Thanks very much, Steve. Senegal have never lost a World Cup match that they have scored first in. They were presented a gift of a goal in the first half. They're quite grateful that that did happen. I think in a parallel universe, Stephen, that mistake doesn't happen. It's 0-0 here, and Senegal will be sweating a little bit because they've got the goal advantage. Their body language, and we could see close up in the tunnel as the players came out. We get back underway here for the second half, but much more confident air about the Senegalese players as they come out for this second half. No changes, by the way.
No, I just wonder if Aliou Cissé would have been honest with the players and said, you're very lucky to be coming in at 1-0 because it hasn't been good enough, and expect a better performance in the second half. It'd be interesting to hear his take on things.
So, Qatar 0, Senegal 1. Qatar up against it now. They need to deliver here, or their World Cup participation in terms of a competitive nature might be coming to an end today. Almoez Ali unable to hold the ball up in the left channel. He was the top scorer of the Asian Cup. And he got 9 goals in that tournament. That's a record, all-time record in that tournament. No one had ever scored 9 goals at an Asian Cup finals, but he's hardly had a sniff at this World Cup so far. Give you a reminder of the teams in just a minute. Qatar have possession. Debo back to the heart of defence to Kuki, the guy who slipped for the penalty. His right-footed ball over to the near touchline. Ismail Mohammed has to jump to his full height to try and keep the ball in play, and it actually goes out, and it will be a Senegal throw on the left-hand side. So Qatar with Michel Barshim promoted to the team. New goalkeeper for this game. He's not looked very steady. We've got 3 central defenders. Pedro Miguel, who played right wing-back in the opener against Ecuador, is slotted in alongside Kuki and Hassan. Ahmed Ahmed and Ismail Mohammed are the 2 wing-backs. Both those players were booked in the first half and are carrying yellow cards. 3 in the middle of the midfield. The captain, Hassan Al-Haydous, 170th cap for him. Karim Boudiaf, 117 caps. I mean, there's a lot of international experience, but not at this level for Qatar. And Nassim Madibo's the other who came into the team today. Then the front 2, El-Noaz Ali and Akram Afif, who thought he might have had a penalty of his own, but the referee and the VAR all said no. The Senegal team, Edouard Mendy, the Chelsea goalkeeper, back 4, Sabali at the right, Koulibaly and Diallo in the middle, Jacobs, who's come into the team, the Monaco left back, 2 central holding midfielders in Nampalys Mendy and Idrissa Gueye, who both play in the Premier League. Ismail Assar's on the right, Crépin Diatta on the left. Famara Diédhiou, who only had 7 touches of the ball in the first half, he's in the number 10 role behind the goal scorer, Boulaye Dia. Qatar 0, Senegal 1, on 5 Live on BBC Sounds and across Africa on the BBC World Service. Senegal have got themselves a corner. Early stages of the second period, and once again Qatar forced to bring everyone back. Afif's about 10 yards into the penalty area, but everyone else is inside the box, and even now Afif is coming back to the edge of the D as well. Corner is going to be taken by Jacobs, the left back, running up with those yellow boots of his. Header in the front post by Diédhiou is in, and Senegal double their lead. Qatar, who lost their opening match 2-0 to Ecuador, are now 2-0 down in their second game as well. The corner played in by Jacobs, an expert header by Diédhiou, and it's Qatar 0, Senegal 2.
Well, it's a great ball in, but it's made even better by the run from Diédhiou. He just gets across his man at the near post and flicks it into the far corner, leaves Barsham helpless. And it's been a terrible start to the second half for Qatar to fall behind, or fall another goal behind so early on in this second half. But great run from Diédhiou, really good instinctive header.
The former Bristol City player, he was a real favourite with the fans during his time there. 51 goals he scored for Bristol City, and now he's a World Cup goal scorer. He just wanted that more. He attacks the front post. There's 3 other near statuesque defenders. They don't want it. They don't have the desire that Diédhiou did there, and he deserves the goal for that.
Yeah, they don't stay anywhere near him, the centre-halves, the zonal marking, and he's picked up Diédhiou, and then he runs just into the front post area, and it's Ali who loses him. He just doesn't want to put his head on the ball. He's too soft, and we said before when we were speaking in the first half about them being weak physically, and they were weak physically there. It was far too easy from Diédhiou.
Jacobs' corner delivery was good, but the Qatar defence didn't move, and Diédhiou is in his first World Cup goal. So a 2-goal advantage for the Africa Cup of Nations holders. Senegal's World Cup, after that rocky start in the difficult opener against the Netherlands, looks a lot more serious now, and they may not have Sadio Mane, but they've got 2 goals here, and it's very difficult, Stephen, and we all want a bit of jeopardy and we all want a bit of drama, but it's very difficult to make the case for Qatar to get back into this now.
Yeah, well, you just thought come out in the second half and make sure that you're organised, you're competing as much as you can, try and be confident going into the second half, because Senegal hadn't been brilliant in that first half, but to concede so early on, it just throws the game plan completely out the window. And you spoke about people leaving the ground just before half-time. Will we now start to see fans leave, because they'll be bitterly disappointed?
Again, there are plenty of evidence of empty plastic seats around the stadium, particularly around what you would call the sort of corporate seats, and to be fair, they might be enjoying some fine dining from the end of midfield, so those seats might fill up, but elsewhere around there are a smattering of empty seats, as there have been from kick-off. And as we said in the first half, that is unusual, not to have empty seats at a group game, but for the hosts, which are normally like gold dust. Here's a chance, ball played in, but Abdul Karim Hassan at full stretch, couldn't get it. He's holding his upper thigh as he veers away. It was a free kick played in by Afif, and he might have been offside anyway, but Hassan might have done better, couldn't get his header on target.
I think he should do better. He is offside, but even still, he doesn't know that. He should at least get the header on target. He just pulls off the back of Koulibaly, who holds a good line. Wouldn't have counted, but he didn't know that.
2-0 to Senegal. Jacobs, who claimed the assist. No assist really for the opener because it was the defensive howler off Kouki. Jacobs will have enjoyed that as Koulibaly passes to his right hand side to Sabali, up into the Qatar half, trying to find the goal scorer Jeju, but it's won back. Position in midfield for Qatar, and Karim Boudiaf, he gives it back to Hassan behind him, and now Pedro Miguel, a Portuguese-born player on the right hand side. Ismail Mohamed gives it into Ali Moaz Ali, and Mohamed was caught late. It's going to be a free kick to Qatar, and it's also another yellow card for Senegal, and it's a costly one. And Idrissa Gana Gueye of Everton will miss the final group match against Ecuador. That is back-to-back yellow cards for Idrissa Gueye, and he will now trigger a suspension. Is that right? Sorry, no, the camera zoomed in on Idrissa Gueye. Maybe he wasn't the player booked, so apologies if I've got that wrong. But we'll confirm that in just a moment. It might have been Jacobs, apologies, who picked up the yellow card
Yeah,
there.
I think it possibly was Jacobs. It was either him or Diatta, but it looks like it's Jacobs. That's the confirmation that we've just got on our screen. So, yeah, Jacobs, there wasn't much in it. He just turns, and as he goes to run back, he puts his arm up to sprint away and does catch the Qatari player, but I don't think it warranted a yellow card, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, so just to confirm, Ismail Jacobs booked, not Idrissa Gueye. Apologies for that bad steer. It was just following the images in front of us here as Senegal give away possession midway inside the Qatar half. Jeju can't hold on to it. Boudalem Kouki comes up to the halfway line. He's got Boudiaf on his left-hand side. Boudiaf has a look up, looks a bit frustrated, doesn't see an obvious target to send a pass to. He's tried a very ambitious crossfield ball here. Ismail Mohamed was his target. Leaping across was Diallo to win it comfortably, and Senegal regained possession once again. Idrissa Gana Gueye up to the halfway line. To his left-hand side is Crépin Diatta of Monaco. Back into Idrissa Gueye once again. Now Nampalys Mendy. Senegal shuffling it around with a little bit more pace now, just taking one or two touches. Idrissa Gueye forward to Dia, the goal scorer. That's a bad pass. He's given away possession. Back to Ali Moaz Ali, and now Qatar have it once again. The captain, Al Haydous, running into Senegal territory. 4-4 if he can keep up the pace here. Gives it to the right-hand side. Mohamed goes down, caught by Jacobs, who's just been booked. Al Haydous is shouting in the referee's face, and the Spanish official doesn't like that. And he's blown the whistle, but he's waving his arms, the referee. So what is he intimating here? He's given the free kick, but I think he's saying no further punishment required.
Needs to be careful, Jacobs, because he's just been booked, and then all of a sudden he dives in. He does catch the Qatari player, Ismail Mohamed, scampers down the right-hand side, and it perhaps should have been a yellow card. The referee's being very lenient. Asked questions by the Qatari players. It's a dangerous position for Qatar now to put a good ball into the box.
2-0 down. The hosts' participation in this World Cup is dangling by a thread. Can they make this an exciting second half? Akram Afif stands over the free kick, 10 yards from the byline. It's a crossing position. Can he pick out one of his teammates in the middle? It's lofted in. There's a leap, it comes back off a defender. Chance for Hassan, who might have scored, but he couldn't find a way through in a busy 6-yard box. Sheer weight of numbers have saved Senegal there as Afif from the halfway line plays it all the way back to Barsham, whose first touch is dreadful, and he just about holds on to it, and oh, they are absolutely dangling on a thread now. By the way, tomorrow 5 Live Breakfast, Rick will be joined by Peter Schmeichel in Souk. You can listen to that from 6 a.m. tomorrow morning on 5 Live. 10 minutes played in the second half. Qatar 0, Senegal 2, but that, Stephen, was probably the best chance that Senegal have had at getting a goal back.
Yeah, they just haven't had that composure when opportunities have fallen to them, and you look at that position there for Hassan. As it came in, the ball dropped at his feet, and he just lashes it. It actually ricochets off his own player. Almoez Ali gets in the way of it, and it probably would have gone past Mendy as well.
That could have been a way back into the game, a way back into the World Cup for the host Qatar. Very unfortunate. Abdul Karim, who's got 15 international goals in the past, he's a central defender, but he's popped up over the years. He scored against Portugal actually last year when Qatar played as a member of that UEFA European qualifying group. If people don't remember that, they were put into the group to get experience. They did the same thing in the Copa America. It was that they were in a group, but the games that they were in, the points didn't count towards the table, so it was effectively a group without one team, but it just was there to give them a bit of experience. They played against Serbia, they played against Portugal, they played against the Republic of Ireland, and Hassan scored against Portugal. He nearly scored a historic goal for Qatar there, but down the other end, here is Jeju into the penalty area. Good defending from Hassan again, and it's cleared away by Kuki, but Qatar could have done with a break there, and well, it just wouldn't roll their way. Here's Afif, set to circle, 2 teammates to his left-hand side, breaking with a bit of pace now. He wants to roll it in front of Al Haydous, but the pass didn't have enough weight on it, and it's cleared away, and it's Jeju who comes away with possession for Senegal.
Yeah, it's just that final pass from Afif there, drives away from the Senegalese midfield, and he can't get anywhere near him, and then he's trying to pick that last pass, that last bit of quality, and it's cut out really well by Diallo, who stops the attack from Qatar. There are signs that they can get on the ball and they can cause Senegal problems.
That attempt from Hassan blocked by his own teammate. That is the only attempted goal that Qatar have had in the last 30 minutes of game time, stretching back into the first half. Had 3 attempts in the game, none of them ultimately getting through to be on target yet. Senegal on their way potentially to their first win of this World Cup, first African win of the tournament. Idrissa Gueye plays it to the left wing. Diatta, Senegal all in white, playing from right to left as we look down. His early ball into the penalty area doesn't work, but it comes back to him. Crepin Diatta holding on to it here, 10 yards outside the Qatar penalty area. Those Qatar players are beginning to look tired now. There isn't the same bounce in their steps as they try to shield the options against their Senegalese opponents. Crossed by Sabali for the right-hand side, nearly picking out Jeju, but he can't get a shot on target. It kind of came off his shin pad. Barsham is able to dive down on it and make the save.
Good run from Jeju, who's played predominantly as a second striker alongside Dia. I wondered where he might figure in this team, where he'd play. He's played as a striker. He played pretty much a 4-4-2 Senegal in this game. Just wonder, going into the Ecuador game, would that leave them too light in midfield? Be interesting to see how they line up.
Qatar really struggling to make an impact inside their opponent's half. Here's their latest effort, but Ismail Mohammed doesn't control it. They will have regret, the hosts. They came into this as massive underdogs. They are by far the smallest country ever to host a World Cup. They've never qualified for a World Cup before. And the gulf in class has been such a steep learning curve for them. And everyone gets a second chance. If you're Lionel Messi in Argentina, you can lose one, you can still come back, but you don't necessarily get two. And if this stays like this, depending on the result, as long as the Netherlands don't lose later on against Ecuador, Qatar could be out regardless of what they do in their final game. Ball played forward by Hassan, not a bad pass. Picks out Boudieff. Is there a bit of fighting spirit in this Qatari team? Pedro Miguel to the right-hand side to Ismail Mohammed. They were nearly up level with the edge of the penalty area there, but forced back. Qatar holding on to possession, but back of the halfway line now. Nadibo, the little 5'6" midfield player, hustling for it up against Idrissa Gueye, and Idrissa Gueye is very worldly wise. He knows what to do in those situations. He wins the ball for his team. It's an awkward bounce ahead of Jeju, so Qatar will win it back again. Akram Afif with the orange boots passes back into his own half to Boulem Kuki, out to the left-hand side to Homam Ahmed, who's on a yellow card, and he's now sporting a sort of Qatari maroon-coloured bandage on that wrist that he hurt in the first half. Hassan comes forward, back out to Ahmed on the left-hand side. Low cross into the middle, in truth wasn't very good, and Koulibaly is able to clear away. They're trying Qatar, but they just don't have the quality at the moment. The throw-in is taken. Hassan, he's miles out, but he shoots! And it flashes in front of Edouard Mendy, and it's wide. Well, he bought the lottery ticket there, and his numbers nearly came up. talk about putting the laces through it. That's not very far away from being a spectacular World Cup goal for Abdul Karim Hassan.
Well, I'd say it would have been goal of the tournament so far had it gone in. It was a lovely strike from Hassan on his weaker right foot. Just as he's about to strike it, it bobbles up just perfectly for him to hit. He strikes right through the centre of the ball, and he had Mendy at full stretch going to his left-hand side. Mendy, you could see on his face as it went past the post, he's just looking, thinking, please be going past the post because I'm getting nowhere near this.
That's the biggest scare for Chelsea goalkeeper Edouard Mendy in this game so far, and he was relieved that it went wide. Can Qatar possibly build on this? Here comes Al Haydous down the left-hand side, the captain. Couple of step overs. Afif makes himself available, running at the penalty area now down the left-hand side, tries to break infield of two defenders, and Sabali did well. No margin for error there inside the penalty area, but he didn't make a foul, and Afif was robbed of possession. And now Senegal will break into the opponent's half, but Diaz's pass is poor. There's been an improvement from Qatar. I mean, they've such a long way to go, but we're seeing a little bit more than the last 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, they're playing with intent now. They're trying to pass between the lines, and they're getting players in good positions. And Afif, who's on the ball now, is in another good position.
Here he comes, Afif, cutting in off the left-hand side. Opens up an opportunity, shot on target maybe, and Ali's denied by Edouard Mendy. This is Qatar's spell. It's the best we've seen of them in the tournament. The shot was heading for the bottom corner, and Mendy had to stretch to get down there and to push it out for a corner. And that's 2 really close opportunities back to back for Qatar.
Yeah, it's the best we've seen as the corner comes in.
And it was, I think, Afif trying to beat the defender at the front post, trying to curl it in, but it's cleared out for another corner. Qatar 0, Senegal 2, but Qatar have suddenly woke up and found a bit of form.
Yeah, really good save from Mendy, from Ali, who just used his full frame to get down to the bottom right-hand corner, push it round the post.
Afif takes the latest corner, he's rolled it back to Ahmed. That's a poor ball in, but it's not been dealt with. Defensive mistake by Senegal. Here is Pedro Miguel. Left-footed shot is miles wide. He went for it, he saw his name in lights on his weaker left boot. The right-sided defender was not threatening the target at all. It is several metres too high and wide.
Yeah, wrong choice from him. He shouldn't have took it inside on his left foot. He should have passed it. There was players either side of him to find. We're just seeing a replay of the save from Mendy. It's a brilliant save, it really is. It brought out the very best of him, down to his bottom right. Ali, he didn't try and put his laces through it, he just tried to side foot it into the bottom left-hand corner. Credit to the goalkeeper, who's equal to the challenge.
Senegal are making a change here. Almo Azali, who had that chance and denied by Edouard Mendy. I'm sure you all will have seen the Richarlison second goal last night. Well, Almo Azali scored a goal just like that a few years back against Japan. He sort of teed it up for himself and then hit it on a scissors bicycle kick. And that could have been his moment to give Qatar some consolation at least. They haven't scored in their own World Cup. They are staring back-to-back defeats in the face here, as change has been made now from Senegal, and they've brought on Pathé Ciss, who plays in Spain with Rayo Vallecano. He's only the 4th Rayo Vallecano player ever to be selected for a World Cup squad, and he's come on now. Senegal look for the 3rd goal that might really put this game to bed. They've been comfortable up until the last 5 or 6 minutes, when suddenly Qatar have sprung into life and have had 3 chances in very quick succession, but they haven't been able to score. Here comes Sabali down the right-hand side for Senegal, wearing all white with the green and yellow and red trim, as Ismaila Sarr holds it up well. Sabali involved again inside the penalty area. Nice little back heel. Ismaila Sarr's delivery in. Kuki gets up and makes a defensive header, and Qatar are able to clear the ball away. Stephen Warner.
Yeah, a little bit of pressure now from Senegal, who answer back because they realise Qatar have upped the game. They've started injecting a little bit more pace into their attacks. Will Qatar be able to sustain those attacks? They're on the break again.
Prepe Diatta, by the way, is the player who went off to allow Pathé Ciss to come on. Ciss is an inexperienced international. This is just his 2nd cap. Afif on the attack here for Qatar. Tried to play it into his captain El Haydous, but it was intercepted. Good work in the midfield by Jeju, back helping out the defence. Senegal tried to attack down the other end, and the ball goes out for a throw-in. And it remains Qatar 0, Senegal 2. The live football continues on 5 Live throughout the day and the evening. Netherlands against Ecuador is next. That is in just over 90 minutes from now. And tonight, a 7 o'clock start, England against the USA. John Murray and Rob Green will be our commentary team for that one. England looking to win their opening 2 games at this World Cup. And England, only 3 times in the past have England begun a World Cup with back-to-back victories. Michael Richards will be part of that commentary team as well. And 5 Live and BBC Sounds later on today. Qatar on the attack, left-hand side. Ahmed pulls it back. El Hadouz has a look up. That's a good delivery! Brilliant save from Cisse! Ismail Mohammed didn't quite catch it as he would have wanted, but he directed it goal-bound from close range, and it's an acrobatic save from the Chelsea goalkeeper. How did Qatar not score there?
Well, I have no idea. The only thing you can say is incredible from Mendy to push it round the corner, and the crowd react to it. They're on the feet.
Here comes the corner for Qatar, played it towards Hassan, but he's beaten in the air by Koulibaly, back into the mix by Pedro Miguel, and it'll be another corner. The last 10 minutes, Qatar have suddenly found something in them, and they are really asking questions of Senegal, but is it too little too late?
Well, we'll find out, won't we? But what a save from Mendy from Ismail Mohammed. Mohammed just finds himself at the back post, he runs in, it just hits his knee, he doesn't really connect too well with it, but it bounces just in front of Mendy, and he pushes it round the post with his right hand. It's an incredible save.
It's a super save for Mendy. You actually have to feel sorry for Qatar there, though. They've had so many close chances now. Here comes the delivery, played in low towards the front post. Diaz back there and he heads away, and the loose ball is picked up by Ismail Mohammed. It's all Qatar at the moment. Right-footed ball into the penalty area. Koulibaly jumps, wins the header and puts it out for a throw into Qatar attacking position down the left-hand side. It came awkwardly off his knee. He was sort of jumping for a header, it then suddenly ended up too low. He's done well, Ismail Mohammed, to get anything on target, and even with the save of the goalkeeper, it still nearly snuck into the bottom corner, and Senegal mightily relieved to see it go out for the corner kick.
I thought it was in, I really did. I was out my seat, I thought, here we go, they've got back into the game. But when you see the save again, it's just phenomenal, because he reads, he anticipates where it might fall, Mendy. It's a quite brilliant save.
Only once before have a host nation failed to advance from the opening phase of a World Cup. That was South Africa 12 years ago, but it is looking a distinct possibility now for Qatar. They've made a substitution here now as well, activity down in the technical area as they try a final throw of the dice. Felix Sanchez, who must be wishing his team had begun this World Cup the way they've played the last 10 or 15 minutes, when they've now had 4 really big chances. But here's Nampalys Mendy, the Leicester player in the penalty area, turns and shoots, and he wants a corner. The referee says goal kick. It was high and wide to the right-hand side.
It's a lovely turn from Mendy in the penalty box, and it just comes off the shin of Kouki, who made the error in the first half, leading to Senegal's first goal. And that's a couple of decisions now that the referee's got wrong, with deflections which have gone over the bar. That should have been a corner to Senegal.
Qatar's change. Abdulaziz Hatim has come on in place of Karim Boudieff. Boudieff, who 12 years ago was earning €500 a month with Nancy reserves, and at that stage he was offered €10,000 a month to go and play in Doha, and they assimilated him in. He was able to qualify for residency, and here he's been at the World Cup, but he's now been replaced by Abdulaziz Hatim, 109th cap for the midfielder, who's scored a few long-range goals in his time. He scored outside the box against Korea and Japan at the Asian Cup. Could he produce a bit of magic here for Qatar? They desperately need something, as Ismail Mohammed, who's had the best chance so far, rolls the ball into the penalty area. Ahmed tried a backheel. He assumed a teammate was behind him. There was no one there, and another chance goes a begging.
I think he's trying to play the 1-2. I think he thinks that when he plays the ball in, Mohammed, he's going to follow it, and then he's going to continue making his run round. But it wasn't to be. But this is better from Qatar. This is what we've been wondering, where they've scored all these goals in the Asia Cup. Where's this performance been? And now we're seeing an intensity, but Afifa's started to roam. He started to find positions on the pitch which is causing Senegal problems. And I go back to that 4-4-2 system from Senegal. I think it causes them problems because they're outnumbered hugely in midfield.
12 years to prepare for this World Cup, and Qatar will feel that it's only now, in the final quarter, really, of their second game that they're showing what they can do, and that's what will hurt them. You know, no one expected Qatar to go on and win the World Cup, but they wanted to show the best of themselves. They've invested so much money, and so much has been said about that. They've been so poor for the first game and a half. Now we're actually seeing, you know, not world beaters, but we're seeing what they're capable of.
Yeah, I think in the first half they competed well, they were organised. It was a huge improvement on the game against Ecuador in the first opening game, but now we're starting to see them being a little bit more inventive, a little bit more skill, a little bit more confidence from the players, and they're starting to relax into the game.
Qatar 0, Senegal 2. Dia got the first goal, Jeju got the second, and now Qatar are about to make a double change. Bamba Dieng is going to come on, he plays with Marseille, and also Ilman Ndiaye, who plays with Sheffield United. Born near Paris, he will come on for what is just his third cap. So some fresh legs into a midfield. Senegal are just concerned here that if Qatar were to get one back, this could become a very nervy final 20 minutes plus who knows what stoppage time. I mean, the way this World Cup has been going, there could be 30-35 minutes to go here. Ball into the penalty area, another chance, and it was Kuki, and he tried to play it back across goal, and too many defenders, and it's out for a corner. Well, it was a thief's delivery. Kuki, the man who you remember made the mistake that gave away the opening goal, he did really well there. It came off the upper leg of a defender. I think they might have thought it could have been a handball.
It came off his own player.
Jeju.
It came off his own player, Miguel. Miguel gets in the way. I don't know how it's gone out for a corner. He gets in the way, and it prevents another goal for Qatar.
Abdulaziz Hatem, one of the substitutes, is going to take it. He's played it very high towards the back post, and there's a clash of heads, and the referee is going to hold up play. And there's a player down, I think it's Famara Jeju. No, it's not, it's Jacobs. Jacobs slowly back up to his feet after a clash of heads there at the far post. So, 2-0 down. Qatar throwing the kitchen sink at it now. It was Pedro jumping with Jacobs, and Jacobs won the header, and Pedro's head went into the back of his skull. It's a change here for Qatar. They're going to bring on another attacker. I mean, look, they've got to just go for it now. Mohamed Muntari, who scored against the Republic of Ireland last year, the game they played in Hungary. He will come on, and it's interesting, it's the captain. It's Al Hedous who's been replaced. He passes over the armband to Abdulaziz Hatem, and Al Hedous makes way to allow the introduction of Mohamed Muntari.
Well, they need firepower, don't they? They need a poacher in the box who can score a goal. Can he be the man who will score the first goal of the World Cup for Qatar in the history? Created plenty of opportunities in this second half. They just haven't had that quality in the final third.
Bamba Dieng and Dai are on for Senegal. Taken off Jeju. Sarr. And clock ticks on. And there are 15 minutes of normal time to play in the Al Thimana Stadium in Doha. This is 5 Live from the BBC. We are live on BBC Sounds and across Africa on the BBC World Service, where Senegal might just be a quarter of an hour plus stoppages away from recording the first African victory of this World Cup tournament in Qatar. Sabali has possession near the halfway line, gets it back again from Dieng. Now Koulibaly. The experience of Senegal beginning to show now as Qatar, who've been shaking this bottle of fizzy drink for quite a bit in the second half, and Senegal are now trying to calm things down and just open the top a little bit, let a little bit of gas out, and try and quell what Qatar are hoping might be a comeback. Long way back into this one though from 2-0 down. Pedro Miguel's done well here, winning a free kick against Boulaye Dia.
Well, the game's had plenty of changes now, and both teams have freshened up the legs, and can Qatar, with just roughly sort of 15 minutes or so in normal time left without the added time, can they find an opening? Can they find that moment? Felix Sanchez just saying to his players, relax, calm down, don't be rushing. There's plenty of time to get a goal, to find ourselves, to get back into this game.
2 years ago, Iliman Ndiaye was on loan at Hyde United in He made his senior debut in the Northern Premier League Premier Division. And here he is, 24 months later, playing at the World Cup for Senegal, the Africa Cup of Nations champions. It's a player who's made a good impact with Sheffield United, who've been his parent club, who've developed him through. This is the big stage for him now. Qatar 0, Senegal 2. As Abdulaziz Hatem controls. He's been neat and tidy since coming on in the middle of the midfield for the host. Gets it back again here on the right channel. Good defending though. So lunging across. Pathé Ciss, who's big and strong, gets to it first and puts the ball out of play for a throw-in to Qatar. They've got no time to waste, and it's back with Boulem Kouhi. He's challenged though inside the centre circle, and it's too rough a challenge, and that's going to be a free kick to Qatar. And another change is coming up for Senegal, and Pape Abou Cissé, who started the first game, he's going to come on. It's going to be a double change here. They're going to take off Mendy and they're going to take off Jacobs as well. And we're going to see Tottenham's Pape Sarr, who Tottenham fans won't have seen much or indeed any of. He's yet to make his competitive debut for Spurs, but Antonio Conte is quoted as saying that this guy is the future of Spurs. He only turned 20 in September. Pape Sarr is on for Senegal here, and so too Pape Abou Cissé, who plays in Greece with Olympiacos. Cissé playing defence, place of Jacobs, whose corner delivered the second goal for Jeju. Pape Sarr, who's gone into the midfield in place of Mpalas Mendy, and getting a run in the Leicester team in the month or so leading up to this World Cup. Here's Ismail Mohammed down the right hand side for Qatar, to the byline, sends it in. That's the moment they've waited for. The goal from Al-Muez Ali. Qatar score their first goal of this World Cup, and maybe, just maybe, they give themselves a fighting chance of a comeback here. The cross from Ismail Mohammed on the right hand side, and Al-Muez Ali. Was it Montari? Montari with the header to score the goal for Qatar, and their supporters are happy they haven't left early this time.
A lovely switch of play by Hassan. It's a raking ball from left to right, and then Ismail Mohammed touches it down, sets himself, puts a beautiful ball into the middle, and it allows Montari to go and attack the ball. He powers his header above Koulibaly, down into the bottom left-hand corner. I think we've got a game on our hands, Connor.
Wow, if only Qatar were able to produce what we've seen the last 20-25 minutes. If they had done that from the get-go at this World Cup, it might have been a different story. We were critical at half-time of Senegal, Stephen. They've got their 2 goals, but they've not been able to turn the screw.
No, they haven't at all. They've been sloppy, they've been lazy, and they haven't really played with an intent. It was almost as if to say, they're not good enough. We're not fearful of them. You've got to be fearful in world football.
It's a 13th international goal for Mohamed Montari, sprung from the bench, and boy, he had some spring in his heels as he got up to head that cross into the back of the net. An emphatic goal that reduces the deficit to 2-1 now, and it's a wake-up call for Senegal. They cannot relax yet. 79 minutes on the clock, plus the stoppages still to go. Pape Sarr swings it in, and it's cleared away at the front post by Pedro. It's going to be another corner to Senegal on the left-hand side. Bamba Dieng tried to attack at the Marseille player at the front post, a guy who nearly joined Leeds on transfer deadline day, and there was a cock-up with the paperwork, and it didn't happen. But he's in there now waiting for Pape Sarr to send this in again. An 11th cap for the Tottenham Hotspur midfielder. Here it comes, right-footed delivery towards the back post, headed down and headed away. And it was Koulibaly at the back post. No, it wasn't Koulibaly. It was Ciss at the back post, but he wasn't able to get it on target. And Qatar clear, but Qatar 1, Senegal 2. We're in for a big last 10 minutes. Stephen Warnock plus the stoppages.
Yeah, I think the big thing from Felix Sanchez now, he'll be telling his players again to relax, be calm on the ball. When they've been calm on the ball, they've cut through Senegal, they've caused them problems, they've created opportunities, and then finally they've managed to get that one moment of quality which has got them back into the game.
12 shots of this tournament before the goal finally arrived for Qatar. This would have been the barest of bare minimums they would have demanded, but can they build upon it now? Another free kick for Senegal. Pape Sarr preparing to take it. Qatar being forced to bring everyone back into defensive positions. Koulibaly stayed back, but everyone else up forward for Senegal. They want a third, so they can breathe easy again. Ball flashes through a busy penalty area, and in the end, goes out for a goal kick.
It's sometimes very difficult to try and turn it back on again, especially for Senegal now, to up the levels when Qatar are reaching a peak, if you like, in the game, and they're really feeling confident. Assam hits that long ball again, that raking left to right ball. He's very unlucky that it doesn't quite find its target.
Sigh of relief from Edouard Mendy as the Chelsea goalkeeper pounces down on that one. It's an animated Felix Sanchez, the Qatar coach, down on the bench. Suddenly, a glimmer, just a glimmer of hope for Qatar that they might be able to get something here. 2-1 down, 82 minutes on the clock. Senegal, who came out looking very relaxed, I thought, at the start of the second half. They got that second goal. Jeju's header from the corner, and it felt at the time that was that. But Qatar have dug deep into their very souls, and they've been able to produce something here. But will it still be enough? Mohamed Montari's goal is a moment that he will never forget, but is it going to be enough in the grander scheme of things to make any difference for Qatar? Mohamed Wad is going to come on as a substitute. Hamad Ahmed is going to come off, the left wing back who had been carrying a wrist injury since the first half. Pedro Miguel has also got off, so they've taken off two defenders there, Qatar, as they prepare to throw absolutely everything at getting back into this game. Tariq Salman's the other one who's come on for Qatar here. 2-1. Remember, elsewhere in this group, the Netherlands against Ecuador. That'll be getting underway in an hour and a quarter from now. Senegal have possession with Youssouf Sabaly. Senegal playing from right to left, and they need to get a second wind here. Chance to break down the right-hand side for Ndiaye, and he's done well to hurdle over 2-3 tackles. He's done really well, Ndiaye. Now he gets on the end of it again, into the penalty area, pulls it back for Bamba Dieng, and that's going to be that. A third goal for Senegal. Sheffield United's Ilman Ndiaye did so well in the build-up there, but it's Marseille's Bamba Dieng that surely ploughs another nail into the Qatar coffin. It's Qatar 1, Senegal 3.
All the hard work is done by Ndiaye. He just drifts past a couple of tackles from the Qatari players, and then he has the composure, the presence of mind to spot Dieng in the middle. He picks him out with a little pullback, but the clinical finish from Dieng, he just fires it past the helpless Barsham. Barsham stands no chance, such is the speed in which he hits the ball. It's right next to him, but it doesn't matter. It's clinical. And it could be game, set, match. I think it takes a slight deflection as well, which does take it away from Barsham.
Qatar 1, Senegal 3. We just mentioned they took off the two defenders. They were throwing everything at it, and as tends to happen when you throw everything at it in attack, you leave gaps at the back. Big moment for Bamba Dieng. It's only his second ever goal. He was the guy who scored the penalty that won the Africa Cup of Nations final against Egypt, and he's popped up with another big moment now. Senegal 3-1 up, 5 minutes to play. Surely they're not going to let it slip now.
No, you can't see it happening, can you? It looks like game over. I think Senegal would use their experience now and see the game out, keep the ball, relax in the way that they play, because they know they've been scared in this game. They've given an almighty fright from Qatar.
Yeah, they're heading for the exits now at the Al Tumama Stadium. The Qatar fans who were given that most horrible thing when things aren't going your way, when you're given hope. The hope that kills you. Montari's header, a brilliant goal, but almost immediately the effect of that cancelled out by Bamba Dieng down the other end, and the 2-goal advantage restored for Senegal, and all those corridors between the seats up towards the exits now beginning to be filled by Qatar fans who have seen enough and are beginning to wave bye-bye to this game as Qatar risk waving bye-bye to competitive competition in the tournament. If they do lose here, they would need the Netherlands to be beaten by Ecuador later on to have any chance of remaining active going into their final game, and it's very difficult to make the game. I mean, who knows, Ecuador might pull off the surprise, but that's the sort of thread that Qatar are dangling by now.
Yeah, they are, and you don't want to rely on others, but Ecuador are a good team. They'll be very difficult for Holland to beat, and that could be one of the games where we see another upset.
And 4 goals at the Altamama Stadium, and this is the second game of the day of the World Cup. Wales beaten by Iran earlier on. We'll have more reaction to that coming up on BBC Radio 5 Live. Netherlands against Ecuador is coming up, 4 o'clock kickoff UK time, and then England against the USA, back to Group B, and that will be kicking off at 7 o'clock UK time. Coverage of every match of the 2022 World Cup across 5 Live and BBC Sounds. And a reminder that some boxing returns tomorrow night with commentary of Dylan White against Jermaine Franklin at Wembley. That's from 10 p.m. on 5 Live tomorrow night, as Ismail Mohammed makes a break for Qatar, and he's been sliced down by Pate Sis, who's going to see yellow for that challenge. Sis just worried that Ismail Mohammed was going to break into the penalty area there, and he decided he would take one for his team. It's a free kick to Qatar in an attacking position. They remain 3-1 behind.
Well, there should have been a free kick before it, the other way. Qatari forward Muntari, who scores the goal, he's gone in two-footed, and then one of the Senegalese players rides the tackle. He goes over it, and then it breaks, and he sides down Ismail Mohammed, and it is a foul, but the referee missed one before it.
Well, you would imagine Qatar will go for goal here. The free kick is about 8 yards outside the penalty area. It is well right of centre. It is not the most enticing shooting position, but they've had so few attempts, and Edouard Mendy, the Chelsea goalkeeper, is screaming at his defenders to get this wall right. The clock ticks on. We're into the final 2 minutes of normal time. We've yet to discover what will be added on for the stoppages. But Senegal have already scored 3 goals in this game. They lead 3-1. And Qatar with a rehearsed move. And it's drilled wide by Abdul Karim Hassan. He was the player who had that shot from distance flash wide earlier. It was a clever free kick move, actually. It wasn't quite Thomas Brolin, but it was inventive. And the wall had to break to try and deal with it. But the shot in the end from Abdul Karim is well wide.
Yeah, very clever play from Qatar. So quick to move the ball to Hassan. Strikes a lovely ball. Mendy was rooted. He wasn't getting there. He looked at his far post thinking, I hope that goes past my post because I'm in trouble. And he was in trouble. He just sat down on his knee. He was beaten.
It's just made me realise, so he's standing there as if he's sort of shielding the ball, and he suddenly breaks and he hits it off his left boot. He is left-footed, he's left-sided defender. That shot that he had early in the game, which we were absolutely drooling over, that was hit with his right. I mean, 2 incredible shots off either foot.
Yeah, the strike earlier on in the game, I said it was his weaker foot, and it didn't look like it, but it did sit up beautifully for him, the first one. It bobbled perfectly in front of him to get the strike in.
We're into the final minute of the 90. Qatar 1, Senegal 3. Netherlands against Ecuador in this group is coming up in just over an hour's time. And Alistair Bruce Ball has the team news. Ali.
2 changes made by Louis van Gaal after the Netherlands win over Senegal. Jurrien Timber comes in at right back to replace Matthias de Ligt. Teun Koopmeiners of Atalanta comes into the midfield, and he replaces Steven Berghuis. Ecuador have gone for 3 centre-backs. 1 change for them. Jackson Perozo, known as the Animal, comes into the team. He replaces the left winger Romario Ibarra. And if Senegal win that game that you're doing right now, Connor, the Netherlands know a win for them here, and they are through to the last 16.
Thanks very much, Ali. Ali will be alongside Matt Upson for commentary of Netherlands against the Ecuador as the big games keep coming here in the World Cup, as Mohamed Muntari inside the penalty area tries to get his head to a cross from the left-hand side, but he can't produce an attempt on target. Qatar are out on their feet now. They've given this everything. Their second half performance hasn't been bad at all, but so poor in the first period they've left themselves too much to do. Senegal nearly pounced on the counter-attack, but the final pass is behind Idrissa Gueye, and he just shields the ball out, knowing it'll be a throw into Senegal as the Africans try to run the clock down now as we move into stoppages at the end of the game.
Just wondering what you'd be known as, Connor. The animal.
I was going to say,
brilliant.
Ali BB's, he's such a polite guy. He's a bit of an animal himself, but I'd be far more timid, I think.
To be fair, I've heard he's enjoying the cakes out in Qatar.
I've heard he's twice the man he was when he left. Just getting to see replay here of a challenge on Bamba Dieng that had the feet taken out from under him, but the referee didn't take any further action at the time. We've moved into 6 minutes. 6 minutes being added on, which by this World Cup standard is actually quite slim. So it doesn't afford Qatar much opportunity to get the minimum 2 goals they would need to try and get their first points at a World Cup. The hosts are in trouble, not just in this game, which appears to already sail past them, having lost their opener, but they could be eliminated with the game to spare, depending on how things get on in that Netherlands-Ecuador game coming up with Ali the Animal, which you might have to call him, and Matt Upson coming up later on. Here is Pathé Ciss, plays it over to the right-hand side. Youssouf Sabaly, who's been neat and tidy at right back for Senegal. Throw-in is won by Imdai. He takes it quickly back to Sabaly, level with the edge of the penalty area that Senegal attack, playing from right to left as we look down. Stoppage time at the end of it. Senegal, who were slow to get out of the blocks, who certainly haven't been emphatic. However, they've got their 3 goals and they'll be feeling much better about life after this.
I don't think there'll be many teams looking at Senegal at the moment fearing them. They are very, very capable, but they're definitely missing key players. You can see that it has affected them, but I expected a lot more from them.
There's not many teams in the world who would be improved with losing Sadio Mane. Just look at Liverpool. He's a huge miss for this team, but they will be pleased now to have got 3 goals in this game, and that certainly at the bare minimum gives them much to build on going into their final match against Ecuador. Cross from the right hand side, punched away by Michel Barsham. I wonder, will he keep his place in goal for the final group game when Qatar come up against the Netherlands? They've had El Shab, they've had Barsham. Who knows what's going to happen for Qatar, and will it even matter? Will they still have a chance going into that final game? Here is Kouki, who'll be so disappointed. His mistake in the first half opened the door for Senegal when he fell to his backside inside the penalty area, couldn't clear the ball away, no danger at all. He just lost his balance and he presented the chance for Boulaye Dia to score the opening goal.
I just wonder whether Felix Sanchez is looking at it and going, do you know what, I'm going to give everyone a run in the World Cup. And now I'm being serious, Connor. I mean, will they get to another World Cup in the near future? And you look at Hassan, the third choice goalkeeper, and will he play him in the next game and give him the opportunity to play in a World Cup?
I mean, the pressure must be enormous given the investment. I'm sure much of his job, Felix Sanchez, has been to try and tame down expectations. Say, hang on, do you realise how hard this is going to be? And what didn't help in that regard in terms of expectancy is when they won the Asian Cup, because suddenly everyone's thinking, well, hang on a minute, we can compete. But they're at big school now, Qatar. They are up against proper opponents. That's a great little move there by Al-Muaz Ali, and he shoots in the top corner and he puts it too high. Lovely shimmy to create the space. He tried to bend it to the top corner, but he couldn't keep it down. 3-1 it remains to Senegal.
Lovely footwork from Al-Muaz Ali, who just drops the shoulder. 2 players go for it, and he finds himself just trying to bend it into the far left-hand corner. It'd have to be something special to beat Edouard Mendy today, who's been in sensational form, only beaten by a close-range header. But don't forget, he made 2 brilliant saves in this game. He made 2 huge saves, one from Ismail Mohammed and the other one from Al-Muaz Ali down at his bottom right-hand corner.
Contrasting mood amongst the respective supporters. The Senegalese party has already begun. It's a flash of green and yellow and red, some wonderful outfits brought by the African visitors to Qatar to support their team, but a much more somber mood in this rapidly emptying stadium. And in the areas that aren't being occupied by Senegalese fans, there are far more empty seats now than occupied ones. And just like the opening game, the expectancy of the Qatari fans has been let down, and they have seen enough, and they have made their way in enormous numbers towards the exits, and this stadium's going to be near empty by the time the final whistle blows.
It's disappointing because it doesn't reflect the performance on the pitch in the second half. I think you'd be very proud of what the team have put in. They've been unfortunate not to get more out of it. They've tested Mendy on numerous occasions, and but for brilliance from Mendy, they'd have perhaps been level at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the expectancy, we mentioned the Asian Cup win. What were Qatar really expecting? I mean, surely support your team through to the bitter end is the bare minimum. It's almost like, you've let us down, we're leaving. It doesn't leave a great taste in the mouth, and I'm sure much more is going to be said about that. Opening game, raised eyebrows, and it's been backed up again in this second game, and so many empty seats now, white and green plastic seats becoming visible right around the stadium as Qataris have headed away to the exits, and now everyone else will depart too, because the final whistle blows. Qatar 1, Senegal 3. It's certainly an improvement from Senegal. We are yet to be impressed that they are the real deal to bring their African Cup of Nations form into this World Cup. But at least they're up and running now. They've got their 3 goals, Dia and Jeju and Bamba Dieng. But Qatar, well, despite a renewed effort, Stephen Warnock, they are still some way off the pace.
Yeah, they are. You're thinking from a host nation's point of view, to at least they've got the goal. They've got the goal that they probably wanted from the performance. Second half, so much better. But from Senegal's point of view, it's job done. And I think it's a job done at best. We expect more from them. I think they will get better as the tournament progresses. But it was a very, very, very competitive game.
It's the first African win at this World Cup 2022. Senegal's victory, and their hopes of reaching the knockout stage is still very much alive. But for Qatar, they become the first host nation ever in World Cup history to lose 2 group games back to back at their own tournament. So Qatar will lick their wounds. Senegal will dream that their World Cup story might just be beginning. It finishes Qatar 1, Senegal 3.